Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku became the world's greatest villain part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story Deku shipper from Wattpad. So let's start the video. A 4-year-old boy and his mother were waiting in the doctor's office for the results of Izuku's quirk. He was holding his all-might figure with a huge smile on his face. The doctor came in with a worried expression. "We need to run another test on Izuku real quick. You said that you have a weaker telekinesis quirk and your husband had fire breathing, correct?" The doctor asked Inko and she confirmed it. The doctor nodded and held a hand out for Izuku. "We will be back in a few minutes. It seems one of the tests got mixed up before it could be labeled, so we just have to do it again," the doctor explained, even though it was a complete lie. Izuku took his hand and they walked to the doctor's office. Izuku was confused and the doctor told him to sit down. "Is something wrong?" Izuku asked, and the doctor denied it. "Actually, Izuku, I wanted to tell you this personally. You have 2 quirks. One is very powerful and one is extremely rare. The first one is pyrokinesis. You're able to control, breath, manipulate and create fire. The other one, though, you may not understand it until you're a little older, but this quirk makes you an omega. We aren't sure exactly what you can do with it, but the gist of it is that when you find someone to bond with and they become your alpha." The doctor explained, and Izuku titled his head a little. "So like a wolf?" he asked, and the doctor was a little surprised about it but nodded. "Yes, just like a wolf. If you bond with another boy, you'll be able to have children with that person. You can have a female alpha, but she won't be able to have children. When you're older you can come back here and I'll explain it better for you to understand, okay? How about your 12th birthday you come back?" the doctor suggested, and Izuku agreed. "Now, the only reason I brought you in here is because, Izuku, I want you to promise me you won't tell any about these quirks. Not even your mother," the doctor stated, and Izuku was confused and asked why. The doctor thought on how to explain this to a young child. "Well, Izuku, your quirks are very powerful and rare, and some people may try to take them from you. It may not seem that powerful, but once you start to train with them and understand them, that's when you will know why you don't want people to know about it. You will be able to control Endeavor's fire, but on your 12th birthday when you come back we will talk more," the doctor said, and Izuku nodded. "But what about my daddy or brother?" Izuku asked. The doctor hesitated, but he was all for one's personal doctor. "You can tell them, but make sure to do it like we are now so no one can hear you. Although, we are going to have to lie. I'm going to say you're quirkless, okay, Izuku?" the doctor said, and Izuku hesitated but nodded. He didn't want to lose his quirks or possibly even die. "Now, Izuku, promise me this. Never ever give up no matter what people say to you or about you." Izuku nodded his head but never responded. He didn't understand why the doctor would say something like that. Izuku soon came to realize why the doctor said what he said. When the doctor had told Inko that Izuku had a double toe joint and was quirkless, she was sad. She looked at Izuku with so much disappointment as they got up to leave. He had to put himself in his own car seat as they went back home. She aggressively pulled him out and dragged him upstairs. Once they were there, she ignored him and went to her room. She grabbed a suitcase and packed as much of her stuff as she could. She knew her ex-husband would be coming to get Izuku later or tomorrow morning for his birthday, so once she finished packing, she left. She locked the door and left a 4-year-old child alone in their apartment. Izuku came out of his room calling for his mom, but he couldn't find her. When he went to her room, he seen her clothes were gone. Once he made it back to the living room, his eyes started to water. "She left me," he whispered and started crying on the ground. Izuku had spent the next 4 days by himself, only eating what he could reach, which was mainly just granola bars and a couple Pop-Tarts. He didn't know how to cook nor make anything at all. He managed to take showers and dress himself even if they weren't matched. Izuku was shivering, wrapped in a blanket as a ball in the couch watching a movie. He didn't know how to work them, but he managed to turn the TV on. Until Friday morning he heard the door open. "Izuku, Daddy and brother are here." He heard Tenko yell. He just whimpered. He was so cold and hungry he felt like he wasn't able to do anything. "Aizu!" Tenko yelled, and he whimpered louder. He heard footsteps come into the room and whimpered as he started to shake. Izuku! Tenko yelled out. He ran to his little brother and gasped at the crying Izuku. Dad! Tenko yelled and hugged his brother who was shaking. Hisashi came in and looked at Izuku and the trash can that happened to be filled with granola bar wrappers. Hisashi's eyes widened. Izuku, where is Inko? He asked as he walked to his sons. Izuku started crying from both pain and heartbreak. She left. Izuku managed to get out. Their eyes widened. Izuku-san. When did she leave? Hisashi asked his son. My birthday. Izuku said sadly. Their eyes widened and Hisashi took Izuku into his arms using a quirk to heat his body up. Izuku soon stopped shivering and fell asleep peacefully. He hasn't been able to sleep since the night before his birthday. Hisashi told Tenko to go get his brother some clothes and they would be taking him with him for good. When Tenko got into his room, his eyes widened. His brother had almost nothing in his room, which didn't make sense because 2 weeks ago it was filled with All Might's stuff and clothes. Tenko went down to his dad and told him about it. Hisashi was beyond sad and didn't understand what had happened. Tenko called Kurogiri and had told him that they were bringing Izuku with them. Izuku didn't wake up until the next morning, nor would he let go of his father. Hisashi had noticed how small Izuku was and was bothered by it. Hisashi had called and asked the doctor to look into the doctor that's seen him on his birthday. The doctor said it was him and asked why he wanted this information. Hisashi had explained what happened and the doctor felt terrible. He told Hisashi the truth of Izuku's quirks. Hisashi was surprised that Izuku had gotten those quirks, seeing as the fire breath wasn't his own quirk but it was one of the first few he had taken and used the most back then. Hisashi was happy for his son by asked why the doctor said to say he was quirkless. Hisashi quickly understand why, especially the 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐵 quirk. The doctor explained it to Hisashi that the 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 quirk works with the pyrokinesis. Izuku could accidentally build a bond with someone over his quirk unless he has deemed them family-like. Tenko could never build an alpha bond to Izuku because Izuku sees him as a brother, and the same with Hisashi due to him being his father. The doctor furthered to continue about the 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 quirk. Hisashi, this quirk is very rare but there is a lot to go on about it. Like I said, Izuku has to build a bond with that person when they both fall in love, or even if Izuku falls in love with them, he is able to put that bond on them. Izuku has to mark that person and they will mark him, and that person will get alpha traits. Their senses, hearing, smelling, taste, etc. will be heightened like Izukus. Their speed, agility and all that come with it heighten as well. They will become more protective and observant of Izuku. They could also build a telepathic connection between the two along with feeling each other's emotions and such. The alpha, however, will become more DMNT, have his own pheromones that only Izuku can smell and likewise. There's not much details on this, but it said Izuku and his alpha could turn into wolves as well. There's not much, it's more or less a rumor as no one has seen it. The pyro quirk is basically self-explained, but if I put it in the system, the Hero Commission would try to take Izuku due to he would easily be able to manipulate Endeavor's flames and could kill him. Hisashi, be careful with Izuku in the future. When this quirk comes to life, he will become more emotional and possibly clingy to most likely you or Tenko, or he will become more detached to everyone around him. I noticed this in his eyes. His eyes sparkle when he's happy, and when he got his mother's reaction, his eyes went a little dual. He could possibly get a higher body temp when these quirks come in as well, since one is a wolf trait and one is fire. I don't think you'll be able to take either of these away, so you and the others need to train him with it so he won't lose control. The doctor explained, and Hisashi didn't know what to say with it, but he was happy he could get grandchildren one day. Besides that point, he was really worried about his son now. Hisashi agreed to watch his son and the phone call came to an end. After another week, Izuku's quirk came in. His body temp did raise by a lot, but it didn't affect him. Hisashi slowly started training Izuku to see what he could do, and he was surprised that Izuku could do a lot already, but the fire was never too big. Except for breathing the fire out, that surprised both of them, and Izuku wasn't able to talk for 3 days after doing so. The doctor was correct, Izuku had gotten clingy, but to Tenko only. Hisashi didn't mind since Tenko was only 8 years old and he wasn't doing anything but online school and video games. Hisashi wouldn't start training him until he was about 12, but he still had workouts for him to do. Izuku was attached to Tenko's hip, and Hisashi was surprised that Izuku hasn't started calling him mom yet. Tenko did everything for Izuku, always making sure he was happy. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐵 pointed out that he might have separation anxiety due to 𝐒𝐮𝐸 leaving, and Hisashi agreed after realizing what he said. Hisashi had told Tenko, but he didn't mind it. He missed Izuku a lot since 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 would hardly let them see him after they had to move out. Tenko didn't mind the cuddles and having Izuku at his side. This continued for a couple weeks until Izuku got more comfortable around everyone and the new place. He realized that his dad, brother and 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 aren't leaving him like his mom did. It made things easier for him to do things on his own. Tenko was a little upset his baby brother was doing things on his own, but he was also happy for him. As the days went on, Tenko and Izuku would train, and Izuku would be more of a little child that he's supposed to. As school came and Izuku started changing, his best friend turned on him because he told everyone he was quirkless even though he wasn't. He was being called names and earned the name Deku, meaning a useless person, and that's what everyone thought he was. That's how the next few years went, being called Deku by his classmates, teachers, and other students. Some of the older kids would call him Deku and started to get physical him. By 5th grade, Izuku had become a punching bag for those around school until Bakugo started using his quirk on him and others caught on. Izuku didn't tell anyone about this. He didn't want to be a bother. His mental health had worsened and others could tell. 5th year, him and Tenko had met Dabi. Dabi took Izuku under his wing like a little brother, and Izuku was scared, but he started to feel comfortable with him as time went on. Izuku had started to become clingy again towards Tenko and even Dabi. Tenko was worried for his little brother, but he would always remind him that he loves him and was always there for him. As the years passed, the bullying got worse. It was so bad one day Bakugo had Diamond near killed him after he did the damage. Bakugo told him to take a swan dive off the roof if he still couldn't understand how worthless he was. Izuku was left on the ground bleeding and could hardly move. He sent his location to 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 and typed, Tenko. Not even 10 seconds later, a portal appeared and Tenko and Dabi walked through. Their eyes widened at the sight, and Tenko carefully grabbed his baby brother and ran through the portal. "We need a doctor now," Tenko and Dabi yelled as Dabi was trying to use his quirk to stop the bleeding. Hisashi and 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 came running in and gasped at what they saw. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 got all the medical stuff he needed as Hisashi used a healing quirk he had. Dabi continued to use his fire to stop the bleeding. After a while they finally got the bleeding to stop and was able to keep him sedated. Tenko never left his side, and if he did, Dabi would stay there with him until he got back. Hisashi was ready to tell Dabi to go and burn the school down, but he didn't. After the phone call he had with the principal, Hisashi and 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸, who had heard the conversation, were both set off. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 isn't one to get mad, but he did. The school basically said they didn't care about Izuku not being there, and they have noticed everything was going better. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸, who had interrupted the conversation, warped there and demanded all of Izuku's records and threatened that if he left anything out he would get the authorities and hunt down villains just to get involved and make sure that they involved his family. The principal was horrified and quickly gathered everything. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 was surprised that Izuku's files were 4 inches thick. Izuku had been blamed for fights, people failing their tests for being a distraction. The nurses stopped caring for Izuku a long time ago. His grades were obviously altered to be lower than everyone else's, but what set 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 off about the school work was Izuku had gotten a 100 on 3 tests and the teachers gave him an F for cheating. Don't blame 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 and All for One if a few teachers and principal came up missing. All for One was beyond sad at the file he was shown, but one thing he couldn't do was interfere in someone else's territory. However, he was glad it was the boss, the leader of the Shie Hassakai. He immediately gave him a call. Hisashi B. Boss B. Hello All for One, how can I help you? We need to talk. I'm 2 seconds away from destroying a school in your territory, but I think you will understand why. B. Oh, this is new. I don't think I have ever heard you this said before. Because I just had to save my son from bleeding out and dying, and I don't even know if is okay and going to wake up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lose my cool. My son sent 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 his location and only put his brother's name in the text. When him and Dabi had arrived, they found Izuku in a pool of his own blood passed out. His wounds were so bad I don't know if they are fully healed. He has burn marks and stab marks all over him and words carved into him. He's a 13-year-old boy. Tenko won't move from his side unless forced to. He hasn't slept since this happened. I made a phone call to his school and they pretty much just brushed it off, saying they could care less if he died. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐸𝐵 went and got his file and it had to be at least 4 inches thick. Izuku told everyone he was quirkless to protect his quirks, and he's been being bullied every day, blamed for the fights others had started. The teachers were failing him and calling him a cheater for getting 100s on tests and quizzes. They also changed his name from Izuku Midoriya to Deku. I can't lose my son. He was getting so much better, and the past few months he's gone down dramatically. He became attached to Tenko again and sometimes Dabi. He looks horrified and ready to have a mental breakdown if a door gets slammed or you drop something. Hisashi, I apologize for the treatment your son is getting. That is not fair to him, but I won't give you permission. I don't want you or 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐸 to get caught and they take you away from him. That will hurt him more. Give me a list of the staff that has caused problems and the school name. I'm going to assume those bullies of his think it's the right thing to do since the teachers praise them for it. However, they should know better than that. Do you know who did this to him? I don't. But I have a good idea on who. I only know one person with an explosion quirk. And it's Inko's best friend's son. Katsuki Bakugo. We will see to it. Also, if it helps, I could have my nephew come over and fix Izuku for you. He's around Tenko's age. I'll just have to talk to him. Thank you, I would appreciate that. I know he might not, but I will give him whatever he wants to save my son. I will let him know. Thank you. The phone call had ended and Hisashi was now a little worried for that school, for the hell they were about to receive. He could tell by the sound of his voice that the boss was said. Him being said is worse than all for one on a set-off ramp. Izuku was removed from that school immediately and would now be homeschooled. 25 minutes after the phone call, boss had told Hisashi that Kai would help him. Probably out of fear, but no one was complaining. Not even Kai. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸𝐸 opened a portal when they received their location. Kai, Hari, and one set-off boss walked through. Hisashi nodded and they followed him to Izukus' room. Tenko and Dabi were asleep by his bed and 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸𝐸 had warped them to their own beds. The three gasped at what they seen. Izukus' almost lifeless body laying there with wires across him, most likely keeping him alive. Kai didn't know what to think, but he quickly slipped his glove off and looked at Hisashi. He may still have scars from this. I need to focus more on fixing his wounds so I can save him. Kai told Hisashi, who just nodded and said it was fine. Within 5 minutes Izukus' wounds were healed and did leave scars across his body. Kai, however, looked at his face and opened an eye. There was damage on both, so he fixed that also. Izuku wouldn't be blind nor have facial scars since Kai put a little extra focus on fixing that. The others were surprised at what Kai had done but were thankful for it. He told them that Izuku probably wouldn't wake up for a few days due to all the damage he had to heal, but he would be perfectly fine. Psychically at least. Hisashi thanked them again as they walked through the portal. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸 started to clean the BLD off of him as he slept. Now, while they were waiting for Izuku to wake up, they had no idea what the boss was planning. After Kai had helped save Izuku, Kai felt weird. He couldn't understand it. He didn't freak out as he was touching Izuku, nor did he freak out when his BLD touched him or when it accidentally gotten in his mouth, but he pushed it aside and thought it was just the spur of the moment type of thing. He was horrified of what he had seen along with his uncle's voice. He showered and changed his clothes and went to the emergency meeting that was calling. The boss was beyond said, "Who the F does that to someone else? Not even villains would do something like that to a kid, even if they were a Fing kid." Kai was the last to arrive, which his uncle pushed past. He did have a lot of BLD on him. There was several people here, the 8 bullets, or the 8 precepts of death. Kai and Hari were the youngest at 17, but they were beyond said with what they seen. Good, everyone's here. Now Fing, listen. The boss started and everyone was worried. The boss never cussed or said any foul language like that unless he was beyond said / livid. I got a call from a friend earlier this afternoon. He wanted permission to take down a school in our area. I refused due to the reasons of I didn't want his anger to blind him and he get caught and taken away from his sons who need him. Especially the youngest. His youngest has two quirks. One is extremely powerful and the other is extremely rare. He was told to hide these quirks so no villains or others could come after him, like the Hero Commission due to one of his quirks. He could easily take Endeavor with a flick of his wrist and even All Might. The heroes would take him into their custody and we don't want that. Back to the point. The kid had to tell people he was quirkless. This resulted in bullying. Badly. This 13-year-old boy was on death's bed. He was covered in burns, cuts, anything you could think of. Overhaul had to help save him, and you can ask Overhaul and Chrono the state that boy was in. It was terrible. No villain would ever do such a thing, and I know more villains than you could possibly think of. The boss said, and Kai and Hari nodded in agreement, which shocked everyone. If Kai had to help save someone even with his phobia, it was bad. The boss explained what they were going to do. Hari, along with Toya and Nemoto, were going to the 𝐒𝐲's house. The others, they were taking down the school and the teachers. Everyone agreed after the boss showed them pictures of Izuku before Kai had helped him. They were set off and disgusted. Not because the way Izuku looked, no, it was why he looked like that. Kids his own age did something like this, and to make it better, they were going to be heroes. Once the three arrived at the 𝐒𝐲's house, they were glad both of his parents were there. They wore regular outfits and kept their masks at home. They didn't want to be seen, but they were said, and Nemoto had a feeling this boy's parents weren't even aware of their son's actions. Hari knocked on the door, not so nicely, and Mitsuki opened the door. "Who the hell are you?" The three looked at her. "Makes sense where your brat of a son got his dinin attitude." Hari commented and Mitsuki raised an eyebrow. "Hope your husband's home because we need to discuss the future of your son before someone finds out and kills him." Toya commented with a lot of hate in his voice. Mitsuki gasped and allowed them inside. Once they sat down, Masaru raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything because the look on his wife's face. "What did Katsuki do now?" he asked, and they all turned to him. "Are you aware of what your son has been doing at school?" Nemoto asked. "If you guys are asking, I'm guessing this is something bad," Masaru added. The three nodded. Once Mitsuki sat down next to her husband, the three stood across from them. Nemoto grabbed the pictures of Izuku out of the folder and laid them out in front of them. The two gasped at what they saw. It covered their mouths so they wouldn't throw up everywhere. "Mitsuki, you should be the one to know who this boy is," Toya added, and Mitsuki couldn't. "Izuku Midoriya," Hari said, and their eyes widened. "What happened to him?" Masaru asked, but he had a feeling on who did. The three could tell he knew who did but didn't want to believe it. 1. Katsuki Bakugo and his lackeys. The thing is, Izuku isn't quirkless, never has been. He has two quirks actually, but they had to hide his quirks so the Hero Commission and villains wouldn't come after him. But your son and Inko don't need to know this. We are waiting for Izuku to wake up. We aren't sure what he will do when he wakes up, but I will tell you this, your son. Oh, he fed with the wrong kid. Hari all but yelled out. Let your son think he murdered Izuku Midoriya. If he shows any signs of grief towards Izuku, then tell him, but I'd wait a few months. He seems like an arrogant, egotistical, pride-filled brat. However, you can't fully blame him for all the bullying he did. The teachers allowed it, they even took part of it. You should look into a new school for him because that school is going down into the ground. Nemoto said, and the Bakugos were stunned at what he said but agreed to it. The police may show up and ask you questions. Do not. And I repeat, do not tell them we were here. It'll make everything worse for you. Toya said, and they nodded. They took the pictures back and left the Bakugos. Back at the school, the rest of the Shie Hassakai were said and gave off one manslaughtering aura as they walked in. The kids at the school were horrified because they actually wore their plague masks. The teachers were horrified, and the principal was as well. He wasn't sure why they are in his school, but he was about to find out. When the principal came into the hallway, "What can I help you all with?" he asked, cursing himself for stuttering. Glad you asked. Izuku Midoriya's classroom. The boss didn't ask but demanded an answer. The teacher got a little too excited and led them the way. What do you need Deku for? He isn't in school today, he actually got pulled out. The principal said, and the Yakuza stopped. What did you just call him? Kai asked in a deadly tone that surprised the hell out of everyone. No one expected Kai to be the one to get so set off about this. I mean Izuku Midoriya. The principal corrected himself, but it came out more of a question which said everyone off. Classroom. Kai demanded, and the principal nodded and continued walking. They stopped at the door, and Kai didn't wait to slam the door open, grab the beach of a principal and bring his dumb butt in here. Kai demanded, and the boss was stunned but covered it up, grabbing the principal by the throat, dragging him into the classroom. The students gasped, "Why the hell is the Shie Hassakai here?" The teacher asked in complete shock. The students' eyes grew wide when they heard that. The Shie Hassakai was known as a deadly gang, the #1 deadliest group of the Yakuza of all Japan, but now they were wondering why the hell they were in their school. Izuku Midoriya. That's why we're here. Kai growled out. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐬𝐚 started laughing. What did that useless F do now? Too bad he isn't here so you can't kill him. He laughed out as the others chuckled. Kai pulled his glove off and killed the principal in front of them. More like exploded him. Some screamed while others were horrified except one who shook his head, but no one seen it. So you're Katsuki 𝐒𝐮𝐻, huh? The reason we're here isn't to kill him. Better yet, I think killing you would be better for what you and these useless brats you call friends did to him. You picked the wrong kid to mess with, 𝐒𝐻𝐻. I had to try to save him but I couldn't. You murdered him. You and all your friends killed him, and for what? Because you thought he was quirkless. He wasn't. He hid his quirks from all of you at the request of his father and the doctor. So Katsuki 𝐒𝐻𝐻, how about we have a little fun and I can make you feel the pain Izuku had to go through. All you are is an egotistical, pride-filled, arrogant piece of SHT with a shitty quirk. Or I could take your quirk away and watch you suffer. Actually, I got the best plan yet. I'll be sending all the pictures and videos of you and your friends to Principal Nizu of UA and watch you all suffer for not being heroes. You'll be thrown away in Tartarus for manslaughter and so many other charges. I think that will do just fine. Kai all but yelled out. It scared everyone, even his own men, at how he was acting, and the boss had a good reason why. He thinks Kai made a bond to Izuku without even knowing it, but that wasn't the complete cause. Kai hated people like 𝐒𝐻𝐻. He hated them with a passion. Especially that he wanted to be a hero after everything he's done. 𝐒𝐻𝐻 and the others' eyes were wide and they couldn't breathe with the murderous aura surrounding the Shie Hassakai, but Kai didn't give off a murderous aura. He gave off a thirsty aura, and that was terrifying. No one could talk or move, and Kai smirked under his mask at that. I think we've done enough. We will be back for you. 𝐒𝐻𝐻. Katsuki. Kai said as he put his glove back on and walked out with his men following him. No one said a word, but the boss was worried. A lot about his nephew. He would have to call Hisashi later and explain what happened with Kai. He wasn't sure how to react, but he also knew everyone was going to act the same, but they weren't planning on killing anyone. After they left the middle school and started collecting all the data they needed, and they actually sent it all to Principal Nizu with the following note. To Principal Nizu, attached to this email are documents, photos, and videos of these students torturing their previous classmate Izuku Midoriya. He is not dead due to my nephew's quirks saving him along with his brother and father. He is, however, in a coma. Some of the pictures are graphic, so please prepare yourself for what you are going to witness in these. There are 3 of Izuku Midoriya. The main tormentor is 1, Katsuki 𝐒𝐻𝐻. He is aiming to be a hero at UA, but I know how laws work and that you will need to speak with Izuku about this and what he wants to do. I'm sure you will involve the police in this matter, but make it clear that they do not try to come after us. We will not tolerate the police on our land. We are in an agreement with them. However, a few things happened today, but I will handle it. I hope you enjoy the start of destruction I gave you. The boss. P.S. Izuku Midoriya is not a fan of heroes, but he is a huge fanboy when it comes to Eraserhead. He is the only person he sees as a true hero. Now, when Nizu received this email, he was curious. Once he started reading it, his anger was growing, but it went to shock when he read who it was from. His mind was going 200 miles per hour on what this boy means to them, if they reach out to the hero side for this. He understood with the kid, but for all of this. This was something new. He took a deep breath and prepared himself for the pictures. He opened the ones of Izuku first and gasped loudly at what he seen. This had to be worse than his past at the shape that boy was in. He then started with the videos and he was growling like a feral animal with what his eyes were seeing. As he continued to watch the videos and such, he felt sick to his stomach at watching this. He was quick to call in the detective on emergency. The detective arrived quickly to that request. The detective threw up a couple times at watching everything and was worried that the Shie Hassakai was the group that showed up to the school today. He told 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿 how the principal was murdered brutally in front of all the students, but now he understands why it happened. Everyone called Izuku Midoriya, Deku, and don't care about him. The detective suggested bring Izuku into this case, and 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿 agreed. He had called Izuku into his office since his class was at lunch. They told Izuku everything and he was worried about the boy. My guess, they had them all believe Izuku Midoriya was murdered by Katsuki Bakugo, who is aiming to come to UA. We can't do anything until Midoriya wakes up. I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted him thrown in prison for this. If for some reason he agrees to let Bakugo come to UA and try to be a hero, there may be a problem with it. However, I want to speak to Izuku Midoriya personally and bring you, Izuku, to see what kind of person he is. 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿 said, and Izuku agreed with it. He didn't care about anything else except to make sure this child is okay. As the days went on, Izuku had finally woken up and he had no pain at all. He got out of the bed and wanted a shower. He was still covered in blood and wanted it off and new clothes. He didn't know he was asleep for 5 days, although he did wonder how he was healed, but figured it was his dad's doing. He made his way to his room and started taking a shower, getting all the dried blood out of his hair, but noticed his hair starts to turn darker and less green. Not that he minded, the green reminded him of his mother. He didn't want to remember her. He finished showering after about 30 minutes of scrubbing and a lot of soap. He dried off and put sweatpants, a t-shirt, and a hoodie on. He grabbed his phone and seen it was only 6:30 in the morning and he was wide awake and starving. He made his way downstairs and found 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿 drinking coffee. Izuku greeted him and 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿 looked like he seen a ghost as Izuku just casually walked around like he wasn't in a 5-day coma. So who healed me, cause I surely thought I was dying, Izuku asked, and 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿 choked on his coffee. Your dad, Dabi, and we had someone else come afterwards. Izuku, do you know how long we were out? 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿 asked, and Izuku shook his head. A few hours. Izuku said, and 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿 was just dumbfounded. Number 5 days, 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿 said, and Izuku froze. Huh? He yelled loudly. Very loudly. It woke the others up, seeing as they were in the living room. Tenko got up and ran to the kitchen where he seen Izuku standing there. Izuku, are you okay? He said as he quickly made his way to his little brother. Izuku just nodded and hugged Tenko. Dabi and Hisashi made their way in and hugged Izuku also. Izuku didn't want to let them go, his mental state was shot now. Tenko noticed and stole Izuku from everyone and held his little brother, who didn't argue with it. Hisashi was worried, especially about the phone call he received a couple days ago from the boss. When talked about it, Izuku got extremely worried when he was told about Kai using his quirk on him. He didn't even know who he was. That bothered him a lot, even though he was thankful it still bothered him. That's how the next few years went. Izuku was horrified of loud noises, attached to Dabi or Tenko's hip unless they went out for missions or had training, but Izuku seemed to be getting worse with some things and it bothered the others. Not in a bad way, they were really worried about Izuku and his mental state. Hisashi had been talking to the boss about things since that day, and the boss was worried about Kai. It seemed as Izuku would get better, so did Kai, but if Izuku got worse, Kai also got worse. Hisashi refused to let Kai around Izuku, and the boss wasn't a fan of that but let it go. Kai wanted to see Izuku, and even if Izuku wouldn't admit it out loud when Kai's name was mentioned, he perked up a little. The boss made a joke about marrying them, and Hisashi paused and said it was a good idea. Even if they were a few years apart in age, but Hisashi could easily take care of that. He is his father after all. The boss agreed to it but did mention the worries of Izuku being around the others and without Tenko or Dabi with him. Hisashi was also worried about that but said they will see what happens and that he might even become attached to someone there, but he did tell the boss to warn everyone about Izuku beforehand and told him to make sure Kai had a lot of hoodies. Izuku had thing for stealing hoodies. The boss laughed at that but said he would make sure of it. Although, the boss was confused on why Hisashi would suddenly agree to marrying them when he has hid Izuku away from all of them for 3 years. He pushed past it for now, but he would find out why. They planned to just have a few people there so they wouldn't overwhelm Izuku. It would just be him, the boss, Hari, the 8, Tenko, Dabi and 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿. They set it for a month from now so Hisashi could prepare Izuku for all of this, and it'd be closer to his 17th birthday, and he had a feeling his attachment to Tenko was about to grow heavier. Hisashi asked for everyone to join him at the dining room table for a meeting. They were confused but soon learned why. Thank you all for joining me today. The boss and I have been taking and we agreed to an arranged marriages. Hisashi started and Tenko said he wasn't marrying anyone. It's not you. It's Izuku. Hisashi said and everyone tensed. Tenko and Dabi started yelling at Hisashi about it and 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐵 even got a little upset with it. Hisashi listened to them until he raised his hand and everyone stopped. I understand your concerns and so do we. That's why the wedding won't be for another month. There's also a reason we are doing this wedding and I think Izuku might understand why. Hisashi continued and everyone raised an eyebrow while Izuku titled his head like confused puppy and it was honestly adorable. Izuku, we think Kai, or Overhaul, had bonded to you when he healed you. Hisashi started and before he could continue everyone, besides Izuku, started asking questions. Shut up. Izuku yelled and everyone was shocked by it. Hisashi could see the irritation on Izuku's face. How the hell could he make a bond with me when it's supposed to be me who makes the bond? Also, of all people I'm getting married to Overhaul and I'd rather marry Dabi. He literally hates everyone and gives off a I don't give a f about anything attitude. Now I'm going to be separated from my family for this. I don't think I could live without Tenko Dad. He's my emotional support blueberry. Izuku said, starting to get nervous, but he was proud for not stuttering. He realized he yelled at his dad and started to stutter out apologizes. No need to apologize, Izuku, however. Why the hell is Tenko a blueberry? Hisashi asked and Izuku giggled, his blue hair. He's a blueberry now. Izuku giggled out and no one could be upset. They were happy he was giggling. To answer your question, Izu, we aren't sure how Kai made the bond if he did. From that day Kai's emotions were going with yours. If you were having a good day, Kai was having one. You had a bad day, so did Kai. He met you once, and after that it may have done something. Or it could have been him touching your BLD or possibly ingesting it. Boss said usually he would start freaking out but he didn't. He didn't complain about anything and he brutally murdered your old principal. Hisashi explained and that was news to everyone. He kept calling you Deku, no one would even say your name. I was told they seemed confused when they said your actual name and it set a lot of people off, but boss said Kai turned into alpha mode and took over everything. He even threatened to kill 𝐒𝐵𝐲. Hisashi said and Izuku flinched at the name Deku, and it didn't go unnoticed by everyone. Hisashi wanted to ask but held off. It isn't going to be a big wedding, just us and 10 people on their side along with Kai. I did however tell boss to tell Kai to get hoodies for you to steal, Hisashi said and Izuku perked up at that, making him chuckle. I'd rather you steal mine, Tenko mumbled and Dabi agreed. Oh, also, I feel honored for you to want to marry me, but you're like a little brother Zuzu, Dabi said and Izuku blushed. I didn't mean literally, he mumbled, making everyone laugh. Izuku wasn't happy with being married, and once his father left, Izuku had a breakdown from being taken away from Tenko and Dabi. Hisashi didn't leave though, he was in another room and he felt terrible for this, but he is hoping it's for Izuku's own good. Now at the Shie Hassakai base, boss called a meeting and once everyone came he just cut right to the chase. Kai, I set you up for an arranged marriage. You will be marrying Izuku Midoriya. So all of you, I expect nothing but kindness to him. I don't care who you are rude to him in even the slightest, and we will see who kills you first. Him or me. He may be shy, adorable, and a great ball of anxiety, but he is scary as hell if you PSS him off from what I've heard, and that doesn't mean try to PSS him off either. He will be the husband of Kai. Along with that, I think it's time you learn his quirks, the boss started and everyone agreed. Let's start off with the powerful one, it's pyrokinesis. However, it may seem simple but it's not. He is able to control, manipulate, create and breath fire with it, and who knows what else he can do, but it's powerful. He can pull Endeavor's flames off of him and use them however he likes. He explained and a few people were surprised but nodded nonetheless. This next one, no one is to know about it. This will explain Kai's behavior and why we decided on doing this marriage. He has an Omega quirk. What this does is when he forms a bond with someone, most likely a male, that chosen male becomes an alpha to him. He will get all alpha tendencies, especially being overprotective of his omega. However, Kai seems to have created a bond to him and isn't aware of it. All for One and I discussed this several times and found when Izuku has a good day, so does Kai. If Izuku has a bad day, so does Kai, but Kai's anger gets worse than Izuku's will. Even with this bond, it won't be complete until they mark each other. I want nothing but respect towards Izuku because I really don't want to lose my men to a 16, almost 17-year-old boy. Understood? The boss finished with a stern voice. Everyone said they understood, and the meeting was finished after he explained more about the wedding and when it would take place. He also told Kai he better go out and buy several different hoodies for him because Izuku would steal them from him. He also suggested a couple others get hoodies as well due to how Izuku is with Tenko and Dabi. Hari was the first to agree with that. He vowed he would play the big brother role for Izuku while he is here with them when boss said Kai was marrying him. Hari's happiness didn't go unnoticed by the boss, and he had a feeling Hari was going to try and play the role of Dabi and Tenko, knowing he would never be them, but he would try to be big brother role he needs here. Later that night, boss called Hisashi and they discussed how everything went. Boss was upset that Izuku had a breakdown, but he understood why. A month has passed and Izuku was attached to Tenko and Dabi every day to the point they had to put their beds together in Tenko's room just so they could sleep together. Izuku was not ready to give up his brothers, and neither were they ready to give up Izuku. Tenko and Dabi helped Izuku pack. One suitcase was literally their hoodies and a couple of their long-sleeve t-shirts. Izuku cried for a whole week before today. His anxiety was through the roof and he wasn't ready for this. Tenko had him dress up in black skinny jeans, a button-up and a tie. Izuku hated the tie, so he loosened it but wasn't allowed to take it off. Tenko and Dabi told him they would be right there by his side for the whole thing. Izuku wasn't ready to do this. But little did he know he was going to have a wild ride when he left. Filled with good, bad, and over everything else. It was now time for Izuku to go to the base, and he was a shaking mess. Tenko and Dabi held him the whole way there, and he ended up on Dabi's lap and fell asleep from his warmth. They weren't going to wake him up yet. As they arrived, everyone but Kai and Hari were outside waiting for him. Dabi carried him in a protective hold as Tenko walked next to them. "Good morning, gentlemen," boss greeted, and they nodded. They all noticed Izuku and had the same thought in their head, he's adorable. After a while they unfortunately had to wake Izuku up and he wasn't happy. He started crying and begging Tenko and Dabi not to leave him. It broke everyone's heart, but boss would hope Hari and Kai. At least Hari would be able to help him through this. It felt like taking a kid away from his mother, and that's basically what they were doing. They got Izuku to calm down after a while but told him they needed to go so he could get married now. Izuku didn't want to, but Hisashi said he would be walking with him and Tenko and Dabi would be next to him the whole time, and 𝐒𝐮𝐲 would as well since he was marrying them, as much as he didn't want to. Mamajiri moment, loudly crying face. They finally got him to calm down again, and they made their way to the room he would be getting married in. Izuku's anxiety went to the moon and stars as he couldn't stop shaking. He hid his tears back as Tenko and Dabi walked down to where he would be. Izuku would only keep his eyes on his brothers and no one else. When Izuku had walked down, he had a death grip on Hisashi. He hugged Izuku and told him he would be okay, that if he ever needed them to just call and they would be there, but he needed to give them a try. Izuku nodded and said he would, even though he wouldn't say it, he really didn't want to. He was horrified to be away from his family. Kai held a hand out to Izuku, who looked at Tenko for an okay. Tenko nodded to him that he could take it. His shaky hand met with Kai's and he was gentle with him. Izuku stood in front of him but only looked at 𝐒𝐮𝐲. He was horrified, and I think everyone could see that. 𝐒𝐮𝐲 started the process, and when Kai said, "I do," Izuku hesitated, but everyone understood why. I do," Izuku stuttered out. The kiss was going to be the worst part of this, but Kai didn't kiss him. He kissed his forehead, and that surprised everyone. 𝐒𝐮𝐲 approved of it for Izuku's sake, and everyone cheered loudly, and Izuku jumped back into Tenko, who held him. Everyone stopped clapping and Izuku wanted to run. He was horrified and didn't want to leave. Hari noticed this and slowly approached Izuku with a hoodie. "Hey Izuku, I'm Hari, I brought you a hoodie to change into and you can take your tie off now also," Hari said in a gentle voice, and Izuku was surprised. He didn't hesitate to rip that tie off and grab the hoodie from Hari. Thank you. Izuku said softly, "It's no problem, Izuku. If you ever need anything, I'll be more than happy to help. Even if it's just a hug, I'll gladly give you one." Hari said with a small smile, and Izuku nodded. He liked Hari already but wouldn't say anything. He stayed with Tenko and Dabi the whole night and got to meet everyone. They didn't do the normal wedding things and everyone was okay with that. They wanted to make sure Izuku was comfortable. Now when the end of the night came, that's when things got worse. Hisashi and them needed to leave and Izuku freaked out. He started yelling to Tenko not to leave him and it broke everyone's heart. Hari went to go get Izuku but Kai beat him to it. Kai wrapped his arms around Izuku and told him he would be okay, that he can call them and see them whenever he wanted. Izuku didn't want them to leave and he could see Tenko crying as Dabi held him. Tenko. Izuku whimpered out. "I love you, Izu. I'm not leaving you, I will always be here for you. You need me, call me and I will answer." Tenko said, and those words hit Izuku like a train, "You aren't going to abandon me like she did." Izuku asked and everyone's heart broke at those words. "No, baby brother, I will never abandon you. Think of this as getting more family, okay? You have Kai and Hari already loves you. Think of him as a big brother, Izu. I know he's not me or Dabi but he will be a good person for you, Izu. But please don't forget about Kai, okay?" Tenko said through his tears. Izuku nodded. "I love you, Koko." Izuku cried out, "I love you too, Zuzu," Tenko said as Dabi carried him through the portal Kurogiri opened. Once they were gone, Izuku broke. Kai held him close to him as Izuku sobbed in his chest. Kai wasn't good at comforting people but he tried his best. Hari came over and rubbed Izuku's back. "It's okay to not be okay, Izuku, they aren't abandoning you. I know it's hard but you have all of us here also. You need a big brother, I'll gladly be that person for you, okay? I know he looks mean and but Kai is really sweet and I know he will care for you." Hari said and Izuku giggled a bit. "I am not mean nor am I but Hari," Kai basically pouted. Sure, whatever helps you sleep at night," Hari said back and Izuku laughed at that. "Ready to go to your room, Izu? Or if you don't want to be alone you can stay with Kai or myself," Hari suggested and Izuku tensed a little. "Don't worry, we won't hurt you or do anything to you. You'll be safe with us. No one can hurt you here," Hari reassured him and Izuku shyly nodded. "I guess I'll go with Hari. Since Kai doesn't like germs." Izuku mumbled and Hari glared at Kai. You can be my little germ and I think I'll be fine with you," Kai said. Izuku looked up at him blinking a few times and let his walls come down as he busted out laughing. Hari joined him. "That was the cheesiest thing I've ever heard," Hari yelled out as they were laughing and Kai just rolled his eyes. The others were looking at them not knowing to be concerned or happy that Izuku was laughing. "Oh, whatever. You can stay in my room. Or our room, I guess now. Either or you can stay with me. I have hoodies and blankets," Kai said and Izuku perked up. "What kind of blankets?" Izuku asked seriously and they got a little surprised by the change in his voice. "I got many, fluffy, fuzzy, all you could ask for," Kai said. The sparkle in Izuku's eyes didn't go unnoticed by them. "Let's go," he yelled out and ran out the door leaving a surprised group of people behind. "Does he even know his way around here?" Kai asked. "I don't think so," Hari answered. "He probably does. He is a genius at everything including hacking. He probably hacked into the cameras and found his way to your room or somewhere close," Boss said and everyone was shocked by that statement. Kai looked at Hari and they took off towards Kai's room where they found Izuku wrapped up like a burrito sitting on Kai's bed. "He's fing adorable," they both whispered. Izuku got worried they would be mad and started to tear up. "Please don't be mad at me," Izuku whimpered. Kai snapped out of his shock first. "I'm not mad at you at all, Iwella. You are adorable," Kai said shyly and Izuku's face turned red. But he was worried. How long would they continue to be nice to him? Is it because of today and they would change tomorrow? Or would they stay like this for a couple days until they got tired of him and started treating him like the others? So many thoughts were going through his head that he didn't notice he was shaking. Hari was quicker than Kai and wrapped him up in a hug. "If you think we're being nice to you because you're married into here, we aren't. Sure, some of us may have bad days but that doesn't mean we won't like you, Izuku. You're one of us now. Izuku Chisaki now. You are the queen of the Shie Hassakai. You could even help us with work if you wanted. I'm sure Kai wouldn't mind that at all. Would you, Kai? Hari said, trying to cheer Izuku up. I wouldn't mind. We can show you around in the morning and you can learn all of our quirks also, Kai said, and Izuku perked up at the word quirks, making them chuckle. A notebook appeared out of nowhere. Can you tell me yours? Izuku asked, and they just looked at him. Where did the notebook come from? They both asked at the same time. Izuku looked down shyly. Kai chuckled and started explaining his quirk. Basically, he could disassemble and reassemble anything with the touch of his bare hand. Izuku's hand was going 50 miles per hour, writing everything down with just a simple description. He managed to write out 3 pages front and back of analysis on him. His name, quirk name, every DM in detail about him. Kai and Hari watched him in awe. Kai found it cute how he scrunched his nose up and stuck his tongue out slightly while doing it. Hari? Izuku asked after about 3 minutes of writing. Izuku once again starting writing at an intense speed with just little information. Hari's quirk is able to slow down the target by getting cut with his hair. The slowdown effect of his quirk is based off his hair and which one the target got hit with. Izuku was on a roll with everything he had, and another 3 pages later he was finished. He looked up to see them staring at him with wide eyes and their mouths slightly opened. Izuku titled his head with a confused look on his face, and Kai about died from cuteness overflow. Can I see them? Hari asked, and Izuku nodded. They're a little sloppy, but yes you can, Izuku said, handing Hari a notebook. At this point no one even noticed how Izuku was being his normal self. You get him going into things he loves, he doesn't even care if he is in front of a crowd analyzing quirks. His eyes widened at the information on the pages. How holy, Hari stuttered out, and Kai raised an eyebrow. Hari gave the notebook over to Kai, who looked at his quirk, and his eyes widened just like Haris. Holy, Kai said, and Izuku blushed a little at the nickname. Is it bad? He asked, and the both said, no, immediately. These are amazing, and you did this in what? 5 minutes? No one could ever do this, and there's things in here I didn't even know I could do with my quirk. Kai explained, completely letting down his walls with Izuku as Hari agreed and faked a yawn. Well, I'm exhausted. I'll see you guys in the morning. If you need me I will be 3 doors down to the right, Izu, Hari said, and Izuku nodded and wished him good night. Now it was just Izuku and Kai, and Izuku was worried something would happen, so he stayed in the blanket. I'm gonna go take a shower and change. Feel free to do whatever you'd like, but just for tonight please don't go out of the room unless it's to Hari's room. I don't want anyone that wasn't involved in the wedding to find you okay. I don't want them to hurt you and Hari, or I to not be with you. I'm sure you can handle yourself, but can you please do that for me? Kai asked, and Izuku nodded and said he wouldn't leave the room but did ask where his bags were. I have no idea actually. If you want I can get you something too. Where of mine? Is that okay? Kai asked in a soft voice, and Izuku's heart fluttered the way he talked. Izuku just nodded. Kai smiled and went to his closet, grabbing a t-shirt, hoodie and sweatpants for him. He sat them next to Izuku and smiled and said he would be done shortly. Izuku nodded and thanked him, even though it was almost a whisper. Kai still heard it. Once the door closed and locked, Izuku waited until he heard the water come on, and he unwrapped himself from the blanket and started to take his clothes off. He put the shirt on and it went down to a little above the knee. Is he really that much bigger than me? Izuku thought, but shrugged and put the hoodie on that went to the same place as Kai's shirt. He blushed and fell in love with the hoodie and the smell of it. He didn't know if this is how Kai smelt, but if it was, he loved it. He tried to put the breathes on, but they just fell right back to the ground. Even tied, they were still too big. Izuku blushed, but the hoodie and shirt was long enough to cover everything, so he folded the breathes and sat them on the bed, grabbing the blanket and wrapping himself up. He pulled the other blankets back and wiggled his way in, nuzzling into the bed. A few minutes later, Kai came out of the bathroom without a shirt. I gave you the wrong shirt, Kai said, not looking at Izuku. He didn't hear a reply and looked up worried. He left but found Izuku as a blanket burrito nuzzled under more blankets. As Kai got closer, Izuku peeked his head out of the blanket, and Kai found him absolutely adorable. Izuku squeaked out, and his back under the covers. Kai stood there for a second, then realized he didn't have a shirt on. My bad, I gave you the wrong shirt. Kai said and quickly went to his closet grabbing his size of shirt. He bought a couple in Izuku's size for him after he put the shirt on. Now he was in a dilemma. Where does he sleep? After standing there for 3 minutes, are you laying down in your bed or did you want me to move to the floor? Izuku asked. Kai snapped out of it. No, you don't sleep on the floor, but is it okay if I sleep in the same bed with you? If not, I can go to another room, Kai said. It's your bed, I don't mind, but please. Don't hurt me. Izuku said and whispered the end, but Kai still heard it. Kai went to his side of the bed and laid down. 1. It's our bed. 2. It's our room. 3. I would never hurt you intentionally. Kai spoke softly and Izuku looked up to him with watery eyes. Do you want a hug? Kai asked, then it dawned on him. He isn't affected by touching Izuku. It doesn't bother him at all. He doesn't mind Izuku wearing things of his, using things of his. He doesn't mind Izuku at all. Weiss, Izuku said, trying not to cry. Kai moved towards him and wrapped his arms around him, holding him. Izuku started crying into his chest and Kai tried to comfort him. I'm not used to sleeping without Tenko or Dabi. They are always there for me. All the nightmares go away with them. I don't want to have them again. Izuku said through his sobs. Kai felt terrible for Izuku. He had a feeling that Izuku had nightmares of what he's gone through, especially with what he's seen today. Kai just whispered sweet nothings in his ear, and he held him close to him. Kai kissed his forehead softly when he heard the soft snores from Izuku. He looked and seen he was indeed asleep. Kai didn't let go of him though. He held him tightly as he too started to fall asleep. In the middle of the night, Izuku started to whine and roll around a little. Kai woke up and seen him and Izuku were apart. He grabbed Izuku gently and pulled him to his chest. Within seconds, Izuku calmed down and nuzzled into Kai, wrapping his arms around him. I don't think he knows it's me holding him, Kai thought before going back to sleep. Kai was the first to wake up and Izuku was still hugging him tightly. Kai didn't know when Izuku would wake up, but Kai was also very deep in thought about wanting to know if Izuku's hair was as fluffy and soft as it looked, so he said F it and started to pet his hair. It was indeed soft and fluffy just like it looks. Izuku hummed in his sleep, nuzzling closer to Kai. Kai was going to feel bad when Izuku woke up and realized who he's cuddling with. Izuku started to stir but leaned into Kai's hand that was going through his hair. Until Izuku squealed and went under the blankets, rolling away. If Kai didn't catch him, he would have rolled off the bed. Whoa, calm down Izuku, you're gonna fall off the bed, Kai said, chuckling softly. Izuku stopped moving and peeked his up from under the blankets, looking at Kai. Izuku loved the touch but was scared. He didn't want Kai to pull his hair like the others would if he didn't do as they said. Even without being in school for 3 years, Izuku was still horrified of other people. He never would leave the base. Sometimes he would at night when he couldn't sleep. That's how he met Eraserhead. It was the morning after his birthday, after the middle school incident, when he met him. Aizawa found Izuku on a rooftop with his legs dangling over the edge. Flashback: Izuku was sitting on the edge of a building around 3:30 in the morning. His legs were swinging back and forth as he was enjoying the night sky view. Izuku wasn't going to jump, he just wanted time alone. Around 4 a.m. Izuku heard a light thump and knew who it was. Hello Eraser, appealing view isn't it? Izuku asked and Eraser was shocked. Are you gonna jump? Eraser asked. Nope, I just like the view. The city is so far away but yet it looks so close at the same time. I can see the stars, listen to the sounds, and it's calming. It's my own escape from reality, Izuku explained, and Eraser nodded. He went and sat next to the kid and noticed him immediately. What's your name, kid? Erased asked. You should already know, you are working on my case, aren't you? Izuku questioned back. Eraser hummed. Just wanted to make sure I had the right person is all. How are you? Eraser asked. Izuku was silent for a moment. Can I trust you? And you not go to the police or start a bunch of SHT? Izuku questioned. Yeah, I won't tell anyone what we talked about unless needed to, Eraser confirmed. Izuku hummed and stayed silent for a moment. You want the honest truth? Izuku asked. Eraser hummed. I'm shitty. Everyone turned their backs on me because my lack of quirk. Truth is, I have 2 quirks. One is rare and one is powerful. My dad didn't want me to get taken away by the Hero Commission because of them, so he told me to hide them and tell everyone I didn't have a quirk. My mom abandoned me and now I feel like my dad and brothers will as well. I'm not suicidal though, depressed, stressed, and a hot mess maybe but not suicidal. Even all the suicide baiting, spider lilies, and even murder threats, still not suicidal. But because I'm a Fing genius. My IQ could compete with 𝐒𝐻𝐻's, but I would never go to UA or be with heroes. I hate them, all but you actually and present Mike if he wasn't so dim and loud. I hate All Might, I hate Endeavor, Hawks is cool. Annoying and a chicken addict but he's cool I guess. Never met him so can't say for sure but I'm probably the only kid who isn't a villain that hates heroes. My mom made me do everything in All Might and I hated it. I hated the smile in his face, the dumb but hair. He looks like 𝐻𝐻𝐸𝐻 gorilla dressed as Captain America on Halloween, Izuku said, making him and Aizawa both chuckle. If you want to know why I hate them I'll tell you, All Might almost killed my dad. He didn't care about the damage he was doing around the city or anything. He just wanted to kill the villain he was after, so he tried and my dad almost died from getting in between them not meaning to. All Might didn't even care about the citizens around him or what he was doing. All he wanted was the villain. Endeavor, I mean do I really need to explain why I hate that flaming trash can? Izuku explained and Aizawa was a little shocked in what he heard but chuckled about Endeavor, not really, but you can, Aizawa suggested, he's an abusive piece of SHT, basically killed his first son. Well supposedly I don't think he killed him, I think he got tired of his SHT and ran away. If Endeavor was my dad that's what I would do. Abused his wife, leading her to burn their youngest son. Shut up. Think. It told all his other kids they're mistakes and worthless to him. But his youngest is the masterpiece of all 4 kids. Well, I guess I could be honest with you but I don't want you going back and tell other heroes about it. Izuku kept explaining. Aizawa raised an eyebrow. 𝐻𝐻𝐸𝐻 isn't dead. That I know of anyways. Him and my brother used to be friend. 𝐻𝐻𝐸𝐻's about a year older than my brother so we used to hang out a lot. He told us everything about his family but I hated Endeavor before that. He's a PP and doesn't care about anyone just like All Might. Actually that's a lie, only thing he cares about is having his kids surpass All Might cause he can't. Like did the dipshit ever think of why he would never surpass All Might? Maybe if he wasn't a PP and cared about his job then he would be number 1. And also by the time Shoto even graduates to be a hero there's a 97% chance All Might would be retired already. But I'm guessing you're not here to listen to me beach about Beach Might and Endeavor are you? Izuku stopped ranting and asked. Aizawa shook his head, well kind of. 𝐒𝐻𝐻 said if I ever came across you to ask you to come to UA so he could talk to you but I knew from the start you wouldn't do that. He just wants to know what you want to do with Bakugo and see if you're okay kid. Honestly I do also but I can tell you're psychically fine, Aizawa answered truthfully. Izuku hummed. He didn't talk for a few minutes. Let him go to UA, make sure he's in your class so you can give him hell. I heard about what Overhaul did and threatened him with which surprised the hell out of me cause I don't even know him. If his attitude and him being an egotistical bastard doesn't change. One day, when I'll be able to face him, I will. I can't even be calm if a door slammed too hard. Sends me straight into a panic attack or sometimes even a PTSD attack. I'm in therapy but it's hard when you feel everything is your fault because what Baku bitch did to you for 10 years. He used to be my best friend before I had to hide my quirks. Can't fully blame it all on him though, all the teachers encouraged it and made him think it was the right thing to do. Hell they would even use me for him to be better. If he would stay quiet throughout the day the teachers would let him have a free for all to me. If I ran the teachers would stop me and throw me back at him. Never in my life have I ever wanted to commit murder but our homeroom teacher was very tempting. He hated me the same as Baku bitch if not more. He would call me Deku. If I didn't write Deku on test or homework he would fail me. He would fail me anyways but still, then he tried to tell everyone I was applying to UA for our last year. Everyone always thinks I want to be a hero because my analysis. What a bunch of dumbass. No offense to you at all, why would I want to go to the same school he would be at? He wants to be a hero better than All Might but he never will be. Honestly, some people say he's better as a villain but I disagree. Izuku said and Aizawa asked why. Villains aren't born, they're created. Society creates them into villains. If I was a villain I'd be the perfect example but I'm not. Society pushes people down to where they feel like they have nothing left in life until they want revenge. Revenge to show the world and those who push them down that they aren't useless and they aren't worthless, that they can do anything. Look at vigilantes. People used to worship them because vigilantes did more than most heroes. They were like underground heroes without a quirk licenses and a hero card. Villains though, Baku bitch would never be a villain, no villain would want him anyways. His ego, pride and attitude show that much. Villains are people that do bad things because the world we live in. Everyone cares about quirks and not a person's personality or who they really are. Look at you, you do everything quirkless. If I wanted to be a hero, you would be my remodel, the person I would look up to and follow, but also go about things my own way. Learn from you but also learn new ways of doing things. That's why I'm a fan of yours. You hate the fame of being a hero and try to avoid it as much as possible, while All Might always has to be in the fame. So tell 𝐒𝐻𝐿 this, allow him at UA. Make sure he goes into your class because I know he will pass. Make sure 𝐒𝐻𝐿 allows you to give him hell, and I mean hell. Correct his wrongs. Show him that what he has done in the past and gotten praised for is wrong. But also, make him wear quirk-canceling cuffs unless in training, but he can't wear them for a full day. If he does, the moment you take those cuffs off he will explode and not even mean to. If he sweats too much and can't use his quirk, it will kill him. He may hate me but I have always paid attention to him. Been together since we were born basically. I know more about his quirk than he probably does. He eats spicy food because it helps his quirk. Even without his quirk he is powerful and strong. However, cold temperatures make his quirk weak. That's one of his weaknesses. The others are his wrist, and if he uses his quirk to much and large explosions he will go deaf. That's why he always yells. He can hear normally but has a hard time hearing himself. So him yelling is more or less him thinking he is talking regularly. When he actually yells, dear God, is he fing loud. If he isn't able to use his quirk like I said, it will hurt him. He won't show it though. The way to know he's in pain is when his nose scrunches or his right eye twitches. He won't ever admit he's in pain or exhausted or well anything except winning and being better than people in his words. Along with all of that, anger management and counseling. He needs it. It would help him with a lot even if he's already doing it. Don't forget that he thinks he murdered me. He may not even try to go to UA, but knowing him he will. He may change by the time he gets there, but I doubt it. Not the way those teachers boost his ego also. Adding him to UA may cause villain attacks, but I know 𝐻𝐿 well they won't hurt the other students. For some odd reason villains adore me and they don't even know me at all. They will target him, but honestly, by then, I may even go to him. I won't promise I won't hurt him, but I promise I won't kill him. Izuku over-explained, and 𝐒𝐿𝐿 was stunned at all the information Izuku had on this boy and that he is allowing him to go to UA still. Another thing, if he does go to UA and he's out of control, call him 𝐒𝐿𝐿. He will go after you or break down or both, but it will take the heat away from students. Izuku finished and 𝐒𝐿𝐿 nodded. They sat there for a few more minutes until Izuku thought of something. Another thing, eraser. Izuku said, but 𝐒𝐿𝐿 cut him off. 𝐒𝐿𝐿? Call me 𝐒𝐿𝐿, kid. Izuku nodded. Another thing, 𝐒𝐿𝐿. Shoto Todoroki, Endeavor's son. I have a good feeling he will be emotionless and only use his ice side. Make sure he knows that it's his quirk. Not Endeavor's or anyone else's but his own. He will have a lot of underlying trauma, but he will understand. When he does, his flames are going to come out large and Endeavor will probably try to ruin it, but keep reminding him that it's his power, no one else's. Izuku said, and 𝐒𝐿𝐿 was once again shocked, but he agreed to do it. 𝐒𝐿𝐿 promised he would and would tell 𝐒𝐻𝐿 what he said. You'll need a statement from me though. He won't believe your word unless the detective is there. Izuku stated, and 𝐒𝐿𝐿 groaned because he was right. Izuku chuckled and reached in his bag, pulling out a notebook. He wrote down everything he said for 𝐒𝐻𝐿, and on a separate paper he wrote down the promise 𝐒𝐿𝐿 made to him and even analyzed Bakugo's quirk for him with all the details Izuku told him. 𝐒𝐿𝐿 was impressed on what he knew of Bakugo. It also worried him, but he got over it. Thanks, kid. Now you might want to get back home. My patrol ended an hour ago and it's now 5 in the morning. 𝐒𝐿𝐿 pointed out, and Izuku nodded. Thanks 𝐒𝐿𝐿 for listening to me. It made me feel a lot better with things. Izuku said with a smile. Anytime, kid. Hopefully I'll see you again one day, 𝐒𝐿𝐿 said before they said their goodbyes. both hopping away in different directions. Flashback, and Izuku was lost in thought, remembering his conversation with Eraser. He couldn't help but smile, hoping Aizawa kept his promise. By now UA would be starting on the next month or two. Izuku hoped Bakugo would go there and turn his life around. Even if Izuku hated him, deep down he still cared for him. Third POV, as Izuku was lost in though Kai was yelling for him. After 5 minutes of yelling, Kai did something else. Izuku, Chisaki. Izuku quickly snapped out of it, looking at Kai. I gotta get used to that. Izuku mumbled, and Kai would have chuckled, but he was worried about him. Are you okay? I've been trying to get your attention for like 5 minutes now, Kai said, worried. Izuku nodded. Sorry, just thinking about something that happened in the past. Izuku said with a small smile. Kai raised an eyebrow but didn't want to push it. Wanna go get breakfast? Kai asked, and Izuku nodded. Only if I can make it. Izuku asked shyly. Kai had a thought on why. Even if it was 3 years ago, it's obvious he still has trust issues. Kai agreed to it and got up, going to the bathroom to change. Izuku stayed laying in bed thinking about his conversation with Aizawa. Then had an idea come to him. I could just hack into you. He yelled, loudly, out loud, not meaning to. Kai had just came out of the bathroom beforehand and raised an eyebrow at that statement. You're gonna what? Kai asked, confused. Izuku face-bombed, knowing what he did. Although, he was starting to feel comfortable around Kai, but he wasn't gonna say anything yet. Do you have a laptop, since we don't know where my stuff is? Izuku asked, and Kai nodded. He grabbed his laptop but told Izuku he needs to eat first. Izuku pouted but agreed. After Izuku did his morning routine, he just stayed wearing the hoodie and shirt from Kai but put his jeans from last night back on and his shoes. They were walking to the kitchen, and thankfully no one was there. Izuku's eyes sparkled at the kitchen and asked Kai if he could start cooking. Of course you can, make anything you like, Kai said with a small smile before putting his mask on. Izuku nodded and skipped away, grabbing all the things he needs to make breakfast. Hey Izuku, would you be okay alone in here for a few minutes? I want to see if anyone is awake yet, Kai asked, and Izuku hesitated but agreed he would be okay. Kai left mainly wanting to see if Hari was awake for Izuku. About 3 minutes after Kai left, a couple newer members came into the kitchen. Who the hell are you? One asked, scaring the hell out of Izuku, causing him to squeak. Or are you a one-night stand from one of the other members? The other member asked. They continued to ask random questions like these back and forth until they start talking about Izuku's body and what they would do to him. Usually Izuku would be horrified, but no, he was getting set off. Oh, so pretty boy thinks he can ignore us. Maybe I'll have to teach him a lesson, one said, and something inside Izuku snapped. He growled and turned to look at the two with murder in his eye. Oh, I think you hit a sensitive spot. Do it again, not like this shorty can do anything. He looks useless. The one said. Izuku was set off now. Shut the F up. Izuku yelled in a deeper voice and twisted his hand around. Flames surrounding him and the guy who spoke last. Izuku's eyes turned red and he flicked his hand using his telekinesis, snapping the guy's neck. Kai and Hari had walked in right when Izuku yelled and stood frozen at the sight. I am not F useless, and you aren't teaching anyone AF lesson, you egotistical B. You put me through enough hell the last 10 years of my F life, you piece of Z, so take your own advice and F die. Izuku yelled out, burning the other guy alive. Kai was confused until he realized Izuku thought he was Bakugo. He was in a PTSD attack or memory. Kai wasn't even sure all he knew, as he was scared of his husband. Hari didn't know how to feel at what he just witnessed. Izuku cut the flames and turned back to the stove like nothing just happened, and there wasn't 2 dead bodies behind him. The others started to come in along with the boss but stopped when they seen a Kai and Hari frozen in their spots. They heard the yelling but didn't know who it was. The boss walked in and seen Izuku making pancakes and 2 dead bodies behind him. His eyes widened. Izuku? He asked cautiously. Izuku didn't respond. One of you call all of one. No. The boss said sternly, but they could all hear the surprise in his voice. Rappa was the one who quickly called him and told him something happened with Izuku and he doesn't know if it's good or bad. 20 seconds later a portal appeared and out came Hisashi, a tired Tenko and an irritated Dabi, but they stopped when they seen 2 dead bodies burnt to a crisp behind Izuku. he snapped. Tenko mumbled and everyone looked at him. Izuku. Tenko said and Izuku turned around with black hair and red eyes. Everyone gasped, "Hi Tenko." "Good morning," Izuku greeted with a bright smile. "Izuku, do you know where you are?" Tenko asked curiously. "I'm at home. I'm cooking for you, Dabi, Dad and Mamajiri," Izuku answered and everyone was worried. At this point it was silent for a few seconds. "Six," Dabi called out. "Why hello Dabi," Six greeted back. "Put him back in control." Dabi demanded. "Yeah, I don't think you want that. I put him back, he is either gonna kill someone again or have a mental breakdown till he chills out. I just took full control when he answered Tamura's question." One BSRD made Izuku snap and the other one pushed him too far. First one said he needed to teach Izuku a lesson. That was one thing Bakubich always said to him before trying to kill him. The other one called him useless. That's what pushed him over the edge. "Don't worry, they weren't anyone important. I think they've worked here for like 3 weeks now." Six answered and everyone was shocked. "Well, could you explain to Izuku's husband what the hell just happened?" Dabi said and Izuku looked at Kai. Oh, you're cute. Glad Zuku is married to you. However, I'm Six, villain. Izuku, I don't take control of Zuku unless needed. This is my second or third time forcefully doing it. Last time was the first time he snapped and tried to kill everyone in a 50 miles radius. Six explained and everyone was worried. "Don't worry, I'm the same person just well. I'm not hiding under years' worth of trauma. But I will say this, he is starting to feel comfortable around you. He doesn't trust you but he doesn't mind you being around him. Also, give him more hoodies that smell like you. He almost died of happiness when you gave him this hoodie last night and this morning when he woke up being all cuddled and hitched by you. Your smell calms him down. I could let him take control now but I'd advise you to get rid of these bodies and you 3-inch," he said pointing to his dad and brothers, "to go. Or else he will have a mental breakdown. Let Overhaul be the husband he is and calm down this problem child." He stated and everyone nodded. "Fing gross, I don't want to touch them," Tenko complained but took his glove off and touched both bodies turning them to dust. Dabi asked for a broom and cleaned it up getting rid of the ashes. Izuku or Six finished the pancakes and shut the stove off. "Alright Toodles loves, let this depressed, stressed hot mess come back to reality and out of timeout. He might not remember what happened while I took over but he will remember what happened so try not to bring it up." Six said and everyone agreed. Once the trio left, Kai went over to Izuku but Six stopped him before he gave Izuku control back. "Overhaul, don't forget he is still in Omega, you are his soon-to-be Alpha. He needs you more than he needs anyone, that includes his brothers. Izuku can't form a bond with them like he can with you because Tamura is his brother and Dabi is like an older brother. Same with Chrono, he will see him as his older brother also and he won't form a bond with him. It will take some time but be patient with him, because of your smell and being around you. A bond is already formed, but it's up to you to take charge and show him you care and will care about him. Even if I take control or even half control, he needs you Overhaul. No one may see it except the boss and daddy dearest but you, Overhaul, are the one he needs more than anyone. And I will help you because he's hurting, he will put on an act that he's fine and hide it but he's not. That's how he is. He feels like he is a burden to everyone so he hides, and he will hide but once you break that wall he has you will see his true self and it's appealing. So take some tips from me right now. His favorite food is katsudon, he hates heroes expect Eraserhead, he doesn't like big crowds but you take him to an amusement park or fair he will turn into a little kid in a candy store, he loves aquariums and zoos, don't always take him on dates to restaurants he doesn't like eating in front of people or out in public, he won't admit it right away but his favorite movies are A Walk to Remember, The Notebook, and Disney movies. Disney movies are always a plus for him and go-to. His favorite ice cream is surprisingly Rocky Road, and he loves hot chocolate with marshmallows and whipped cream. Always make it with hot milk, a bunch of marshmallows then the whipped cream on top. If you didn't know already this kid has a Fing obsession with hoodies, and I think it's the Omega in him. He steals everyone's hoodies for the smells but your smell is the best to him. You'll learn how to control your alpha and pheromones when he marks you. Lastly, for now, don't underestimate him even without me helping him. This kid will plan 25 different ways to murder someone and hide the body in less than a minute. He claims he ain't a villain because he really isn't, but if he was good, God, would he be horrifying. Another thing, he hates the way he looks, all the scars he has, and the words those BS artists carved in him hurt him badly. That's why he doesn't wear short sleeves, when the day comes and you see him shirtless even if you don't mean to. Tell him he's appealing, and how you still love and care for him no matter what he looks like. Just don't drop that L word too soon. He will freak the hell out and avoid you like a fing plague. Be careful at night though. If he's having a bad day he will sneak out and go to his favorite place, but I don't know how far away we are from it. It's a building at XXXXX. He goes there in the middle of the night and sits on the roof and looks at the stars. The stars are comforting to him. That's where he will let his walls come down and where you want to be with him. Don't rush into it though, give it a couple weeks, or when you think he's comfortable with you and happy, that's when you can tell him all how you love him and that sappy SHT. His walls come down and you will find the appealing person inside him. 6 said in a caring voice. He may only be a mental part of Izuku, but he cares about him a lot. Izuku changed from last night, his omega started going crazy and Izuku's happiness was going up. That's how 6 figured out it was Kai's smell. You are his alpha overhaul, alpha trumps husband, always remember that. 6 said before letting Izuku take control. His eyes opened to that appealing green color they are. Kai wrapped his arms around Izuku and Izuku didn't know what to do. BSS. He mumbled. Set me off. He continued to mumble in Kai's chest but calmed down from his smell. Demon, I really made 6 call his butt out. Then 6 put me in timeout. What the actual F is wrong with him? I do not need to go into timeout. Izuku continued to mumble while he was sobbing. Izuku, if you don't stop mumbling I will kiss you. Kai said and Izuku stopped and looked at Kai. W. He stuttered as his face went red. You okay? Rappa asked, making Izuku squeak and jump up, latching onto Kai. His eyes went wide when he seen them all standing there looking at him. He turned to Kai with a face that said, help me, but Kai just patted his head. How about you eat and then I'll show you around, okay? Kai suggested and Izuku was thankful the subject change. Izuku nodded as Kai put him back down. He grabbed a couple pancakes since he made SHT ton for everyone. I made some for everyone. I didn't know there were more people here, so it's just enough for all of us. Izuku said with a small smile. Everyone thanked him and started eating. Izuku sat between Kai and Hari. It was pretty quiet while everyone ate. Izuku was full but couldn't get up to go anywhere since he was stuck between them. Izuku finished before anyone else and started to fall asleep. Once he did, he fell over onto Kai's shoulder. Kai looked at Izuku and chuckled. He was glad he just finished eating. Well, I guess the tour will have to wait, Kai said out loud, and everyone looked at him. They seen Izuku fast asleep and chuckled. He must fall asleep if he eats too much. He did that last night also. After dinner he fell asleep for like 15 minutes on Dabi. Hari added and a couple agreed. Well, I'll just take him to my office. I have a few things I need to do there. Can one of you clean the dishes? Kai said and Nemoto said he would do it. Kai picked Izuku up, sitting him on his lap facing him. Izuku's head nuzzled into Kai's neck. Kai stood up holding Izuku so he wouldn't fall and made his way to his office. Once they arrived, Kai sat down carefully in his chair, keeping Izuku in his lap. 35 minutes went by and Izuku started to move his head and whine softly. He opened his eyes and seen he was on someone's lap in a chair he nuzzled into. Them, and by the smell he knew it was Kai. His inner Omega was going crazy and loving the attention, but his anxiety was also going wild. He's only known Kai for a day husband, alpha, or whatever. He's scared to get attached quickly. He hardly knows anything about him. How was your nap? Kai asked, snapping Izuku out of his thoughts. Good, Izuku answered. I'm not mad at you, just so you know, Kai said, and Izuku nodded. I've never snapped like that before. Never mind. Izuku said, worried Kai would judge him. Kai leaned back into the chair and started to pet Izuku's hair. You can tell me, love. I know we just met yesterday, but I will listen to you. Even if we didn't get married and we met each other, I would still do the same. I'll be here for you if you want to cry, someone to talk to, hold you even if you don't say anything and I don't say anything. We could spend 3 hours with me holding you and I would never judge you or leave you, okay? Kai told him in a soft voice. For some reasons though, words went straight to his heart and he purred softly. It surprised the hell out of both of them, and Izuku sat up and they both looked at each other with wide eyes. What the hell, Izuku stuttered out. Kai chuckled. Did you just purr? Kai asked, and Izuku's face went a dark shade of red as he quickly put his face into Kai's chest, covering it with his hands. I'm going to take that as a yes, but I thought it was cute. Kai said, if possible. Izuku's face went even redder. Kai went back to petting Izuku's hair, but Izuku didn't argue with it. He loves the attention from Kai. Izuku is one confused person with this. He doesn't know Kai, but yet after last night he trusts him a little. He loves to be around him and have his attention. His smell calms Izuku down like he's known it his whole life. He knows it isn't just his omega in him because it shouldn't happen until they complete the bond, or a bond has already started, but he doesn't think one has. Izuku fell asleep and reached out to 6. Izuku woke up in his dreamscape and seen 6 in front of him. 6, you okay, Izuku? I don't know. I don't know who to talk to. 6, well, what's it about? 6, smirks, you trust him already, don't you? Izuku nodded. So many thoughts were coming to his head. 6, Izuku, I know you're scared to be hurt by someone else, along with the only other person outside of the league you talk to is Eraser. These people care about you. You don't know it because your dad didn't want to overwhelm you, but they have been looking out for you since that accident 3 years ago. Him and Boss talked a couple times a week, but they were worried to bring you around Kai and the others. That day, Kai had formed a bond with you. No one knows how, but I think I do. Izuku stared at him in surprise. He just nodded as a way to tell 6 to go on. 6, your BLD. When he saved you, he had to touch you with his bare hand. If your BLD somehow made it into his bloodstream, that's how he was able to form a bond with you before you could. For 3 years that bond has been building. You were scared he used his quirk on you, but you accepted it and was thankful for him. Last night, when he gave you his hoodie with his smell on it, you melted into a ball of happiness. The feelings his smell brought you was obvious to me. When you're in control, I don't know anything until you let me. Your feelings were so high that it triggered myself and your inner omega, and we got to see you and your feelings. I understand it's only been a day, Izuku, but trust him. He won't abandon you, he won't hurt you, and I know this because he already has his alpha bond to you. Alpha trumps everything in the world, Izuku, and you know that, but I want you to look into alphas and omegas and you will understand. Once the bond forms between alpha and omega, it will never break. You two will always know where the other is, and so much more when you are at the top moment of a bond and mark him and he marks you. Listen to your heart, Izuku. Like how you purred a little bit ago, you had high emotions triggering us and we felt your happiness and comfort with him. You will see Hari looks to you as a little brother, and let me tell you why. Izuku nodded as they both sat down on the dark floor. Hari had a younger brother before getting saved by the boss. A group of low-lifes raided his house and killed his family, but didn't know Hari was even there. He was 8 at the time and his little brother was 4, just like you and Tamura. He was scared that night, so he hid under his bed. After so long the house was completely silent, he heard the footsteps leave, but they never checked his room. When he finally got the courage to get up, he found his little brother first, then his parents. While he was screaming and crying, that's when the boss found him and took care of him. Kai became like a brother to him that day. Kai is a very sweet and loving person once you break down his I'm in but and hate everyone personality. If you don't want to trust Kai just yet, trust Hari. He was also there when Kai saved you, and when he learned you were the same age as his brother, something in him demanded he protect you at all costs, just like Kai. The whole Shie Hassakai is like that, but when you put your trust in Hari, do not forget about Kai, Izuku. If he wants to take you on a date, let him, but you have to tell him the truth if you are uncomfortable or if there's too many people, but knowing that germaphobe, he isn't going to crowded areas. When you wake up, ask him to go around and meet the others or call a meeting and analysis their quirks and even help him with paperwork. You don't have to trust him a lot for that, but I know more than anyone you'll be happy and your personality will come out. Your anxiety and others will fade away in that moment of bliss, and you won't have a problem trusting anyone because you'll feel amazing teaching them things they wouldn't even know. Izuku had a couple tears fall from his face as he listened, and he agreed to do it. He remembered how they went to his school and the outcome of it. Everyone was removed out of the school, teachers were thrown in prison, and the school got burnt down. They found dried BLD of Izukus in different spots around the school that Izuku didn't even know that the Shie Hassakai did that for him and didn't even know him yet. They did it not because of his dad, but from their hearts. They stood by Izuku and he didn't even know it. They protected him like his own family does. They care for him without even knowing. They aren't faking emotions, they actually care about him and want him to feel comfortable because he is now their leader with Kai. Izuku is above all his bullies and helps lead his family's group and his now husband's group. Izuku was proud of himself with that. Even if one person leaves him behind, he has a whole army of people waiting to love him. From this day forward, Izuku wasn't going to hide behind his anxiety with them, he was going to show them all just what he was made of. Bakugo will no longer continue holding him down, he was going to rise up and be the person he knows he can be. A husband, a leader, the leader of his pack with his soon-to-be alpha by his side. He is no longer Izuku Midoriya, he is Izuku Chisaki, and this is the day he makes a new life for himself. Izuku's POV. After talking with 6, I felt so much better even if he did all the talking. I won't hold myself down, I won't let Bakugo continue his hold on me. I will rise up and become better than him and everyone else thought I would. Never be. I'm not Izuku Midoriya, I'm Izuku Chisaki for the rest of my life and I will no longer be that same person. I open my eyes sitting up and wiping my tears away. A face of determination written all over, but this is who I will be. I will be a new person and no one will hold me down. Not anymore. I turned around on Kai's lap and seen a bunch of plans out in front of me and my eyes would have sparkles in this if possible. I took the pen Kai was using and started to get to work. Kai didn't say anything but I knew he was looking over my shoulder as I made my way through all his paperwork. After 45 minutes of doing so, a knock was on the door. Kai yelled to come in and a group of people came in. I looked up and seen it was the Hisashi and The Boss. I finished the last paper and looked up determined. If you could all sit down please, I want to show you what I'm best at. I said and they looked surprised but sat down. All right. I started as I grabbed a notebook and a pen. Where? You don't ask questions. We did last night, 𝐻𝐻𝐸𝐻 was asking but Hari cut him off. Good, I don't tell my secrets, so one person start with name, code name and quirk and continue that way. I said and they nodded. I sat back leaning into Kai's chest but I didn't care. I opened my notebook to a new page. Well, I'll start. I'm Kendo Rappa, alias is the Rapper, or Rappa, but quirk is strong arms. It allows me to move my arms and shoulder with fast speed and power, Rappa said, and my hand was flying through the pages. I looked up to the next person, Shin 𝐻𝐻𝐸𝐻. I just get called 𝐻𝐻𝐸𝐻. My quirk is confession. If I ask a question they answer truthfully. I nodded and started writing but paused. You ever use that quirk on me without my permission or absolutely needed, I will become more horrifying than boss and my dad together. Do you understand me? I said in almost a deadly tone. I seen people shiver and he agreed he wouldn't and didn't plan to. I nodded and went back to work. Once again looking up, Rikiya Katsucame. I don't have a name but my quirk is vitality stealing. With psychical contact I'm able to steal vitality from others, giving myself more stamina, size and strength. I had a field day with that quirk. I went through 6 pages front and back of everything analyzing his quirk. I looked up, Toyasetsu no name, quirk is larceny. I can take anything the target possess, even a manifestation of a quirk. My eyes sparkled as I started writing again. I was loving these quirks as I continued. 𝐻𝐻𝐸𝐻, crystallize, large crystals grow from my body covering my skin with them. 𝐻𝐸𝐻𝐸𝐻, quirk is food, I'm able to bite, chew and digest anything I come in contact with. 𝐷𝐷oro Sakaki, quirk is sloshed, basically I can make anyone feel like they are drunk. 𝐻𝐸𝐻𝐸𝐻, quirk is barrier, I can create a telekinetic barrier around me in the shape of a dome. After I was done I had filled a whole notebook. Before I show you this, just know I transfer all this into a different notebook in code that only myself can read. Once I finish coding it all I burn these notebooks so no one else can read them. Also, you all need code names that aren't by your DMN name. Dad gained his name because of his quirk. Tenko goes by Tamura Shigaraki. Talk about an emo kid. And Dabi goes by well. Dabi, which means cremation, and it's his quirk. Then Kai here goes by overhaul, which is his quirk. Good lord, some of you people need help. Someone calls you overhaul and that's a giveaway of that along with Dabi, but whatever. I ranted but stopped with a shrug, handing over the book to Hari. I love when people look surprised at my work. After they all read it they were all complimenting me and it made me feel special and happy. Okay, Next, you guys SCK at making plans. I'ma bounce around to different topics, so pay attention. You SCK at plan making, not as bad as Tenko but you SCK. So when dealing trigger and all that, you need to not make it look so DMN obvious that it's a drag deal. Also, you need to figure something out with it, because when a user uses trigger their tongue turns black, making it obvious what drag they are using. So, let's start with this. When making the drag, you need to put something in there that not even I could figure out. When they test it, there's no way anything could be found unless they have a quirk for that, but it's very rare for someone to have a quirk that allows them to see every single thing inside something, because they are bound to miss one or two things. So for planning on a trade, do it in a public location around many others, but don't go around looking like a crackhead. Wear business suits so it looks like it's a businessman and a client meeting up. Use a briefcase with it and random papers, but don't make it blank. Put the drag and information paperwork in a folder and go about your day. It may sound stupid, but make sure the client knows what they are doing. Also, do not give it too random but people you don't know. That's the first way you get caught. Now when it comes to murder, good lord, our villains dumb as hell with that HT never leave the demon body. That's how you get caught. You don't want to get caught, and I nor Kai want to deal with that SHT. So let's get this started in Murder 101 with me, Izuku Chisaki, as your DMN teacher. Rule number 1, when committing murder, don't do it in public, that's a thing obvious. Rule number 2, leave no witnesses, kill them nosy beaches. Rule number 3, if using your quirk and can't get rid of the body, salt and burn beach. Pour salt over the body and burn the FR. Rule number 4, if burying a body, dig the hole deeper. Go about 7 feet down, make sure it's completely covered and put a lot of the dirt back until there's about 4 feet left. Find a dead animal and bury it on top, then cover it. This way, if they bring dogs and all that, they are going to dig up the hole, and when they find the dead animal they will think that's what triggers it, but don't forget to put some random as flowers. People love animals and they will think it was someone's pet or some SHT. Heroes are things stupid with that SHT and will believe it. Rule number 5, if you can't do anything to get rid of it, call me. I'll burn the body and get rid of the ashes. My quirk allows me to have several temperatures on fire, so yeah. I'll teach you more later on. Those are just simple rules. I finished and everyone was looking at me surprised. I'm the son of the number 1 villain. Did you think I would be stupid? I had to teach those rules to my own DMN dad and brothers. I got tired of fighting people when they got stuck. Why do you think their plans usually fall through? Because of me. I stated proudly. It was silent for a few minutes until, Izuku, are you okay? Boss asked, and I put my head down. I'm fine. I started and sighed. I let myself be held down by Bakugo and his minions, and I had a talk with someone. Mommy, I guess. And realized. It's been 3 years. I'm not Izuku Midoriya anymore. I'm Izuku Chisaki, and this is a chance for me to change things and make a name for myself. I won't allow myself to be held down anymore. I want to get better. I don't want to have a panic attack because someone slammed the door too hard or dropped something. I don't want to be afraid to be alone by myself, even if it's for 2 minutes, and have an anxiety attack thinking that everyone abandoned me. I don't want to be afraid of going outside and think someone is going to try and kill me because Bakugo ordered them to. Only one person outside of my family has talked to me, and I haven't seen that person since then. I trusted him to not tell anyone what we talked about, and he kept that. He never did tell anyone. I no longer want to be held down by anxiety or treated as a child anymore. I want to grow and do everything that I should be doing and not be scared someone is going to hurt me. I have a powerful quirk, but yet I was always afraid to use it. I mean, for FS sake, I could go out right now just to fight and kill Endeavor with no help at all. Even Beach might, but my anxiety won't let me. I don't want to be held down like a prisoner. I want to trust people, make friends. I haven't been around anyone but my family in 3 years because I'm horrified of it. I'm scared people will abandon me, and I don't want that feeling any longer. I want to move on from my past, but it's hard. It's so hard to move past when the nightmares are always there. Their words fill my head. Like this morning, both of them used the words Bakugo used to say before he would try to kill me, and I snapped. I don't want to be put in timeout by 6 because I can't control the emotions when it comes to that angry Pomeranian. I let him have a chance to change because it wasn't fully his fault for what he did to me. The teachers encouraged him and would use me as bait for him to be better. He doesn't know that it was wrong because he was always praised for it. Yeah, maybe deep down he may, but his ego, pride and all that is covering it. The person I met 3 years ago was Eraserhead. He helped me with a few things in just one night. I told him what I wanted for Bakugo and he agreed to it. I told him I wanted Bakugo in his class because he is one scary but teacher, he would change Bakugo. I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive him, but to see him change and learn from his mistakes is what I want. If not, I warned Aizawa I would come back for him. I would be a new person and stand in front of him and not cower down. He uses his explosions as a fear tactic and I won't be held down. Not anymore. So, to answer your question truthfully, I'm not okay, but if you guys are willing to help me get through this, then yes, I will be okay. I have never asked for help but I am now. I want to be a better person, I want to be happy, to not be afraid anymore. So, please help me. And please, don't leave me. I said as tears left my eyes. I don't care if I put everything out there, I don't want to be this person anymore. I want to move on and I know these people will help me. Hopefully. As I cried, Kai quickly pulled me into his chest, turning me around halfway and held me. I felt another pair of arms wrap around me and I knew by the scent it was Hari. A hand ruffled my hair and I looked up with tears eyes and seen the boss and all the others around me with small smiles on their faces. We will help you, Izuku. We won't abandon you, we will be by your side every day for this. So tell me, what do you want to start with first? Boss asked. Loud noises. That's my biggest trigger. Next would be yelling and after that, confidence. Although, I could work on everything but my self-esteem is so low I don't think I could be better at anything. I admitted and he nodded. So, to me it sounds like confidence and self-esteem is where we need to start and I think Kai would be the first to start helping with that. Don't forget what you were told, Kai. Boss said and I raised an eyebrow. Kai nodded. So, for the rest of today, I want you to stay with Kai. Tomorrow we will start training you and then we will go on from there. Boss said and I nodded. Thank you. Thank you so much, I cried out. He patted my head with a smile. No need to thank us, Izuku, we would do it no matter what. You're one of us now. You married the leader and that makes you the leader also. Boss said and I smiled. Does that mean I have to stop helping my brother though? I asked and he chuckled. No, we wouldn't ask for that, but if you think him and Kai would be good at working together, I think it would be a great idea. Your brother just needs more people, Boss said and I raised an eyebrow. He has a whole group though. One of them is bat sht crazy and scares the hell out of me, but the others are great at what they do. Tenko just needs to stop acting like a man-child. I admitted and Kai chuckled. He has a group already. Boss asked and I nodded. Dip. And there's a lot of other villains who help him also. Tenko's biggest plan is to kill Beach Might, which I find funny, but I get it. He planned to just go up with all these people and defeat him like Beach Dad has to put his all in a fight with him. But what they don't know is I know All Might's weakness. I finished with a smirk. Boss raised an eyebrow at that. You do. I nodded. Of course I do. What kind of villain assistant would I be if I didn't? I questioned back and he looked confused for a second. You don't call yourself a villain because you don't join in fights and stuff, right? I nodded. As much as I want to, I couldn't. I went one time and before we could do anything I freaked out. So I just stay as the mastermind behind everything. When I say I fought with them, that's what I mean. I stay behind the scenes and coach them through everything basically. I told him and he nodded. Can you fight though? Hari asked. Wanna find out. That's one of the only things I'm confident in, fighting, planning and analyzing. I said with a smirk. No, I don't think too. Hari said, making me giggle. I'll fight you, Rikia said. I'ma call you Ricky. But sure. I'm down. I said as I stood up from Kai's lap. Let's go to the gym. I don't want to ruin the office for throwing you around like a rag doll. I said with a shrug and everyone looked at me surprised. You know he's probably the strongest out of the 8, right? Kai questioned, are you doubting me? I questioned and he shook his head. No, not at all, I just wanted to know if you knew that. I smirked and nodded my head. Trust me, honey, I know more about your group than you might. I'm not a wanted hacker for nothing, you know. I said with a smirk, winking at them and turned to walk towards the door. You're wanted. They all yelled. I chuckled. You'd be surprised. I mumbled as I skipped down the halls until I found the gym area. I started doing stretches and about 10 minutes later they all arrived and even more. Hey Six, did they forget I have all the information on the quirks and more? I whispered to myself. I think they did. You giving them that speech on Murder 101 and wanting to fight the strongest seemed to have moved them from that thought. Six said, Hey Izuku, I want you to take your shirt off. But let me take half control. You know your clothing will be ruined by the end of this, and do you really want to ruin Kai's hoodie and shirt? Six said, and my anxiety was getting high, but I said no. As Ricky started to walk towards me, I closed my eyes and let him take half control. With him in half control, my anxiety won't be as high and he can talk to me through it. Once he was there, I took the hoodie and shirt off. I heard several gasps. Don't listen to them, Zugu, listen to me. You will build your confidence this way, okay? I have a feeling Kai will come to you at the end of this. But as for now, we are in control. Ignore everything around you except the fight. You could even let your Omega come through. Six said, and I nodded. My Omega in me came through. I now have one red eye, and the other is split between green and gold. Do this for our Alpha Zuzu. If you win, your Alpha will be proud of you and will pamper us with cuddles. My Omega yelled and my heart fluttered at those words. And he will pet your hair, Zuku, Six said, and I got determined. My Omega reminded me of my win and what I'd receive of it once more. Let's do this, Ricky, I said, and he nodded. Remember your power, Izuku. He may be stronger, but you can deflect it all and win this. Do this for your Alpha. Six said, and I nodded. My Omega was still with me, so I had 3 different colors in my eyes right now. Kid, are you okay? Your eyes are different colors, Ricky asked. I'm fine, I said, determined. He nodded and I heard Kai yell start. Ricky came at me quick, but I dodged every attack he sent. I managed to dodge and drop, sliding between his legs, pulling them with me. He face planted and laid there for a minute. I backed away from him and started to circle him. Get up, Ricky, I yelled out. He lifted his head and jumped at me, but stopped when a line of flames surround me. You're using a move your dad doesn't even know, aren't you? Six asked. Sure am. I told him I would throw him around like a rag doll, so let's do this, shall we? I said, and Six hummed. I flicked my hand to the right and Ricky went flying, slamming against the wall. I walked through the flames, flicking my hand to the left, and he went flying, slamming into the other wall. I brought him back to the middle and ran toward him. I started throwing punches until he dropped down. I stood in front of him. I think I need to teach you a lesson not to mess with me, he said. He's using this as a tactic. You wanted help overcoming Bakugo, and that's what he is doing. Six reminded me. Then show me this lesson you want. I growled out. Ricky seemed surprised but stood up. You want to teach me a lesson, so FDO it, Rikia. I yelled out. He is not going to be pushed down any longer, so don't you dare look down on him. Six yelled out and Ricky nodded. He came at me as fast as he could. He hit me and I flew backwards but rolled and stood up again, charging at him. We exchanged blows and I realized he wasn't using his quirk on me. But he really couldn't. It would overpower him and he'd pass out. I have myself, Six, and my Omega in charge together. He couldn't take all of our energy. I found an opening and swung around, wrapping my legs around his throat, squeezing them. He tried to grab me, but I let my upper half to go. Flames, he yelled out. I quickly let go of him, jumping down before he fell to his knees, and put the flames out. He was gasping. Are you okay, Ricky? You can use your quirk and take some of my energy if you need to, I offered, and he shook his head. No, I won't do that to you, he said. After a few seconds he got his breath back. Holy SHT, kid, I don't know what you did, but no one has ever been able to fight me like that. Without using my quirk I went 100% with you and he still beat me, he said, and I chuckled. Well, I had some help. It was to help my confidence, I admitted. I closed my eyes, taking back full control. But my Omega told me how happy my Alpha was with me. I put my hand out for Ricky and he grabbed it, standing up, and hugged me. I tensed but remembered he wouldn't hurt me. I hugged him back. I'm proud of you, Izuku. You're a bad but with everything you do, he told me, and tears start to cover my eyes. I pulled away. You mean that? I asked as a tear went down my cheek. Yeah, I do, kid. That was amazing. I couldn't be prouder to have you as a leader, Izuku, he said, and I couldn't help the tears. That was amazing, Izuku. I am so proud of you. Hari yelled out and came to hug me. Everyone started telling me how they were proud of me and I felt so happy. Kai came over to me and ruffled my hair and tried to pull away, but I grabbed his hand, putting it back on my hair. He chuckled and started petting me, making me purr and nuzzle into his hand. He moved his hand after a minute, causing me to whine. He picked me up, hugging me. I'm so proud of you, Zu. You beat the strongest member of the 8 like it was nothing, Kai said, and I purred loudly at all the praise I was receiving as I nuzzled my face into his neck. OMG, that is adorable. Hari yelled loudly, making me squeak. I forgot they were still here, I mumbled. Kai put me down and I turned to see everyone. Your thing-ripped kid, Rappa said, and my eyes went wide. I forgot I didn't have clothes on. Hojo handed me my hoodie before I could freak out and I thanked him, quickly putting it on. I got to meet the others who are just a part of the Shie Hassakai, and I finally met Mimic. He told me he was out for a couple weeks due to a mission, but I understood. So why did you have 3 different eye colors? Ricky asked. I rubbed the back of my neck nervously. The red one was 6. He didn't help fight or anything, it was more to give me confidence and talk me through it. He was the one who wanted my clothes off and gave me reasons why. The gold eye was my Omega. But I don't want to say those reasons on why he was there. The green was me. I explained and they nodded. Hari came and whispered in my ear, what did you Omega say to you for you to do that? I blushed deeply and hid my face. My Omega took control before I could argue. I told him if he won, his alpha would be proud of him and he would reward him with cuddles and 6 said hair pets. His 2 favorite things, my Omega whispered back, and let me take control. Hari started laughing. When the hell can he take control like that? I asked myself. I don't know, but I'm glad he did. You did amazing, Izuku. Since you told us what you did in Overhaul's office, I've already seen a great change with you. We just have to keep going. I know sometimes you may fall back, but it will be okay in the end. Hari said, hugging me. I smiled and hugged him back. You really are like a big brother, I said, and he chuckled. Well, it's only noon and yet so much has happened today, Boss said, and I agree. However, it's time for your training with Kai. Go shower. Your bags are in his room. They ended up in my office for some reason, but I brought them to Kai's room for you. Boss said, and I nodded and skipped away. Once I got to our room, I grabbed my bags and found a pair of jeans, boxers, a t-shirt, and one of Tenko's hoodies. I went to the shower, did my thing, and once I walked out I didn't have the hoodie on. I chose this to start with my self-esteem. Kai was sitting on the bed looking on his phone, so I grabbed his phone and sat on his lap, straddling him and put my nose into his neck. You okay? He asked and I nodded. I won the fight, I deserve cuddles. I mumbled. He chuckled and wrapped his arms around me and laid back. Only for a little bit. I made plans for us today, but don't worry. You'll be with me and I'll protect you even though, well, you don't need it, but I got you anyways, he said, and I giggled but agreed. It was silent for a few minutes until he spoke up. Wait, did you win the fight just so you could get cuddles? Maybe. Listen, this is me trying to get over my issues one step at a time, but your cuddles are the best, and I don't care if we just met. What? Cuddles. I said, okay, you can have cuddles, but even if you didn't win I still would have cuddles with you, he said as he started petting my hair. Oh. Well, I kicked his butt anyway, so. I trailed off, earning a laugh. After 20 minutes of small talk and cuddles, he sat up. All right, let's go start our day. All right. You wearing that hoodie or do you want one of mine? He asked. That one's Tenko's. I mumbled. He kissed my forehead and I blushed deeply. You can wear it. I didn't know whose it was. I don't mind, he said, and I nodded. We got up and I put Tenko's hoodie on and we walked out the room. I didn't think we were going out like on a date until we walked outside to his car. Izuku POV. As we walked to the car, I started getting nervous. He opened the passenger side door for me and I hesitated. Hey, it's okay. You're gonna love what I have planned for us today, he said, and I could tell he was smiling under his mask. I nodded and got in the car, buckling up. I also just noticed he was wearing regular clothes and he looked really attractive. White skinny jeans and a black V-neck shirt with black gloves and a black medical mask. I blushed when I realized what I just thought. I mean, I'm not wrong, but well, he's hot as hell. He got in and he started driving. I turned the radio on to fill the silence we had. I honestly don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting rap music to be blaring. I looked at him with a raised eyebrow. Hari was the last one in my car. He's the only one I let drive it. I don't listen to this, he said, and I giggled. What do you listen to? He asked, and I shrugged. A lot. Mainly rock, but I also grew up around Tenko's emo, but Ndabi joined and he's a bigger emo than Tenko. But I listen to a little bit of everything, I answered, and he nodded, putting on a radio station for us. It was older rock and I was loving it, until one song came on and I was jamming out to it. Kai seemed surprised by it, but Dabi, Tenko and I would always blare the music to this and have a dance party. Once it was over, Kai and I were laughing. I take it you really like that song? He asked, and I nodded. Dabi, Tenko and I would always have a dance party and all of us would start yelling the lyrics at the top of our lungs to the point Dad made our room soundproof because he was tired of hearing us scream, I explained, laughing. He just nodded while laughing a little until we arrived. I got really excited. Ready, my little germ? He said, and I laughed. It may be cheesy, but I find it cute. Let's go, I said, blushing, and quickly got out of the car. Slow down, babe, Kai said, and I froze in my spot and turned to look at him. I'm sorry, he apologized, and I shook my head. No, it's fine. I just wasn't expecting it. Nor did I know I was so far ahead of you, I said shyly. He shook his head. Wanna hold my hand then so I don't lose you? He asked, and I hesitated but nodded. He took my hand in his and intertwined our fingers as we walked in. He gave them his name and the guy seemed surprised and a little scared but told him we hear good and to head in. It was appealing. I've never been to this aquarium but I loved it. As we walked into the hallway with the glass around it, I could see all the fish, sharks and marine life. Kai POV. Once we walked into the hallway, I looked at him and his eyes had sparkles in them. He really is appealing. Even all the scars he has, he is still the most appealing person I have ever seen. We continued to walk until he stopped and started looking through the glass, but I could only look at him. His facial expressions made everything better for me. I really did not want to be in public. It's disgusting, but looking at how happy he is makes everything okay, and he let me hold his hand, so that's a plus for me. We continued to walk through. He really loved the jellyfish out of everything. What he doesn't know is this has more than your normal aquarium. It was all water animals and all that. There's sea otters, beluga whales, dolphins and a whole bunch of other things. Once we finished the main aquarium, he looked sad, until we walked to the ocean side. He lit up and tried to run, but I pulled him back. Calm down, Zoo, we have all the time you need to look at everything and more, all right? I told him and he nodded. We walked in and he got really excited, which made me chuckle. He managed to get his hand out of mine and ran to the otters. At least I can still see him. I walked over to him and stood behind him, wrapping an arm around his waist. I felt him tense and look at me scared. It's just me, don't worry, if it was anyone else they'd be dead. I told him and he just blinked, then giggled. I am very happy I get to hear that sound for the rest of my life. We stayed watching the otters for about 15 minutes until he moved on. I thought he loved the jellyfish until he seen the otters. After we looked at everything, he begged to go back to the otters and I let him. You really love them, don't you? I asked and he nodded. Because they're similar to me. They're small and look like they can't do much. Always being the target to those bigger than them, but they don't really fight unless needed. They're calm and love cuddles and food. Lots of food. They're soft and fluffy and love attention. He explained and I smiled at him. Sounds like you, especially the cuddles and being soft and fluffy. Have you felt your hair? It's the best thing ever. I told him, watching him get flustered. And they're also adorable. Just like you, I added as I watched his face get redder. I held his hand again and pulled my mask down a little. He turned around to look at me and I kissed his forehead softly. You really are appealing, Izuku. I have never seen anyone as appealing as you. I told him in a soft and gentle voice that I could manage. He looked at me surprised and I could see the tears start to show in his eyes. He reached up and I was curious on why. He unhooked my mask and I was about to freak out until he jumped up, wrapping his legs around me and kissed me softly. I was surprised, but I kissed him back just as soft. Once he pulled away, he quickly put my mask back on. His eyes widened and I could tell her was having an inner panic. Or gay panic. Well, I didn't expect that, but I love it nonetheless. I told him and he looked ready to cry again. Calm down Izuku, it's okay. I'm not mad at you, I told him and he calmed down a little. You hungry? I asked him and he nodded. Wanna go to the gift shop first? I asked and his eyes lit up and he nodded. I was not expecting him to kiss me anytime soon. I'm not complaining, I just hope he doesn't freak out about it again. I held his hand all the way to the gift shop and he went straight to the sea otter stuffed animals. I wasn't really surprised, I just figured he'd go for hoodies first. He grabbed one and skipped to the hoodies. I chuckled as I followed him. He was debating between two hoodies. Get them both, babe. Or have you never had your own hoodie? I asked and he blushed, looking away. I had my own hoodies, but tenkos and toys are always better, he said, and I raised an eyebrow. Tibi, he whispered. I nodded, getting the hint since people were around. Once we cashed out, we headed to the car. Izuku looked a little worried, but I'll make it better. Ready for our next thing, Zoo? I asked and he looked at me. There's more? He seemed surprised. Of course there is. Did you think there wasn't? I asked curiously. He looked down before getting in the car. I just didn't think you'd waste this much time and money on me, he said lowly, and I was surprised by that. Izuku, I would buy you your own aquarium if you asked me to. I get it was an arranged marriage, but since I saved you that day, I have wanted nothing more than to spend more time with you, but your father wouldn't let me. I guess I was really aggressive and you were having a lot of bad days, but I just had the urge to see you and comfort you. Even before I saved you, when I walked through that portal and seen you, Hari and I both wanted nothing more than to protect you and care for you, but we also had a feeling your family wouldn't let us, and we were right. Don't be mad at them. After that, that's when they think I created a bond with you by your BLD. So my alpha instinct were telling me to go to you, but I wasn't allowed to. I had no way of contacting you or anything, so I couldn't. All 3 years I was worried about you and wanted nothing more than to go to you, but I couldn't. So don't think I don't care about you or wasting time and money, because Izuku, it's not. I want nothing more than be with you and spend time with you, to get to know you better and make you happy. I know I keep repeating myself, but I want to do this. Okay. I explained to him. I watched the tears fall from his eyes as I wiped them away, kissing his forehead. You don't know me all that well and I understand it, but that's what today is for. You can't get to know me overnight, but you can get to know a lot about me. I want nothing more than to make you happy, Izuku, and I know it won't happen overnight, but it will eventually, as long as you let it. I will never abandon you, I won't walk out on you, I will be by your side till the very end. And even one day have little germs of our own. I continued, hoping to make him laugh with the end, and it worked. He giggled until he started laughing his butt off. Was it really the funny? Oh, will I get to see his smile and hear his appealing laugh? Kai, you can't call them that. That's rude, he said, wiping the tears away from laughing. But I call you my little germ and you find it cute, so how is that rude? I asked, and he giggled a little more. Because it's me, you can't call a 2-year-old a germ, they'll get upset or start calling other people germs, he said, and I shrugged. People are germs, they're gross, all except you. You're perfect, I said, and he smiled a little. Not really, but if you say so. I have learned not to argue with you. It would never end and you don't give up, he said, and I smirked. Glad you know that. Little germ, he rolled his eyes but smiled at me as he got in the car. I closed the door and made my way over to my side. I really hope he likes what's next. I have Hari and Rappa decorating it now. Once we arrived, Izuku looked a little scared, but I mean, who could blame him? I brought him to the woods. I shut the car off and got out, waking to his side, and opened the car door holding my hand out. I promise I'm not going to kill you. There's some place I want you to see that we usually go as a group, but today, it's just you and I told him, and he nodded hesitantly, grabbing my hand. I smiled at him, but I don't think he saw since I'm wearing my mask. We walked in silence until we reached the waterfall that had a picnic set up. I looked over to him, and the way his eyes shined in the sunset was the most appealing scene I have ever got to see. I looked away and guided him over to the picnic area, taking my mask off. We sat down and it looked like he was going to cry. You okay, babe? I asked, and his face got red, but he nodded. No one has ever done this much for me. Not even my family. They do everything inside for me, but it's nice to be able to go outside and not have to have Six help me through it all. You've been there for me this whole day and I'm so grateful for it, he said as tears went down his cheeks. I smiled and wiped his tears away. I will be there for you every day, my love. No matter what happens or what day it is. I will always be by your side. I told him and kissed his forehead softly. He looked so happy, like all his worries and anxieties washed away, and I was honestly okay with that, but I knew once we left they would possibly return, but I would stay there and be there when he needs me. After we finished eating, the stars were out and he was silent, just staring at them. I now understand what 6 meant about him and the stars. He was a completely different person, no anxiety, no fears, no trauma, nothing but happiness. We laid down watching the stars in silence until he spoke up. Do you know the real backstory of Hercules and the constellation? I was not expecting that question. He's a Greek god who defeated monsters, fell in love with a human and played hero. I more or less asked and he shook his head. Not exactly, it's more based off of the constellation, Hercules. It was named after the Greek version Heracles. It was unclear even to the Greeks, but it said that Heracles was the son of Zeus and Alcmene, who was a mortal woman. One night as she slept when he was just an infant, Zeus laid him against Hera's beak. He suckled the milk and he became immortal. I'm not sure who Hera is though. However, she was sad at what Zeus did, but she couldn't kill him. So she made his life a living hell basically. No one knew what Hercules' real name was. Some say it was either Alceus, Palemon or Alceus. Hera had put a spell on him which made him kill his own children when he got older. When he came down from the spell and realized what he had done, he had gone to the oracle in Delphi to see if anyone could atone him for what he had done. He was sent to serve the king of Mycenae, Eurystheus. There he gained the name Heracles, meaning the glory of Hera. He served the king for 12 years. During those years, the king had given him many tasks, which was known as the labors of Heracles. The first assignment was to kill the Nemean lion. He was called the beast with the fur to basically withstand any weapon. He defeated the lion using its claw to cut its skin off, using it as a pelt and its gaping mouth as a helmet of sorts. That lion is now known as the constellation Leo. Heracles' second task was to defeat Hydra, a beast with multiple heads. During that fight, Hydra sent a crab to distract him. When he defeated it, that crab became the constellation Cancer. He continued to do these tasks as he was asked. The 10th task was to steal the cattle of Geryon, a monster who lived in the island of Erythea. On his way back to the king, he was attacked by many forces that had nearly overcame him by being outnumbered. It was then Heracles dropped to his knees and begged Zeus to help him, which he did. He had sent rocks that Heracles threw at his attackers. According to Aeschylus, that event was commemorated into the constellation 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐬𝐵, the kneeler. Heracles and the king had only agreed on 10 tasks, but the king refused to let him go. He was given 2 more tasks. The first task was to steal golden apples from Hera's garden. However, the garden was guarded by Hesperides, the daughter of the Titan Atlas. She was guarded by a dragon named Ladon. After Heracles killed the dragon, Hera placed Ladon in the sky, which is now the constellation Draco. The last task was difficult. He was sent to go to the underworld to get Cerberus, a 3-headed dog who guarded the entrance. Using the pelt he made of the lion to protect himself, he was able to drag Cerberus back to the king. The king was not expecting Heracles to return from these 2 tasks and now had no other choice but to release him. After he completes those 12 tasks, he married King Enyu's daughter, Deianira. The two traveled the world together until they came to the river Ivynus, where Nessus ferried people across. Heracles swam across the river while his wife needed carried. Nessus was the one who agreed to do and had fallen in lust with her and tried to ravage her. Heracles wasn't having it, so he shot him with an arrow dipped in Hydra's poison. Nessus had offered Deianira his BLD, telling her it could be used as a love charm. She had kept the BLD, which was poisoned by the arrow. Later in time, she begun to think Heracles' attention was on another woman and not her anymore, so she took Nessus' BLD and smeared it all over a t-shirt and gave it to Heracles. His skin started to burn from Hydra's poison. Once he had realized what she had done to him, he built himself a funeral pyre on Mount Ida. While wearing his pelt, he laid there basically accepting death at that point. Once the poison had burned all of the things that made him mortal, as his immortal self went back up with his father Zeus at Mount Olympus. Zeus later placed him in the sky, naming it after his Roman name, Hercules. He explained, and I was shocked by the story he told, but I loved how he explained it. The way his voice sounded calm, the way his eyes and face looked like he was completely free from the hardships in life is what I loved about him. Tell me this story. What do you think about it? Or how do you feel about that story if it is true? I asked him, and I don't even know why. Honestly, I find it bullshit. That Hera Beach blamed an innocent child for something his father did, so he had to suffer through so much. He said as his nose scrunched up a little. You really love the stars, don't you? I asked, changing the subject. He smiled, a true and genuine smile. I do. It makes me feel so many emotions but also free. That just looking at them calms me down. They all tell a story, even if they are ball of gas. It's never the same each night. The stars are in different places, they move around and everything is different. Almost saying each day will never be the same, but if you keep moving you will become strong and brighter if you never look in the past. How some people say that if you follow the stars it will guide you home, but in my opinion, is it really home or where you call home? To guide you through, almost like you're never alone, and if you get lost all you have to do is look up and they will help you. You see them moving and shooting stars to make a wish on, but how long will it take for that wish to come true? I myself have wished upon many and I do believe it true, but it took me 3 years for it to come true. He explained, and I was shocked at how he really felt about them, but I was also curious on what his wish was. You don't have to answer, but what was that wish? I asked, looking at him. He seemed to be conflicted on telling me, but before I could tell him he didn't need to tell me, he started talking. To find a light in my darkness. In other words, to find the happiness and the strength to push past everything. I love my family, I really do, but those 3 years before now I felt almost like a prisoner trapped in a cell. Not being able to go and do anything unless I'd sneak out, but I'd always have to return. I wished to find the light to help guide me through the darkness that surrounds me. That wish came true when I married you. I was scared, I didn't know how to feel. I thought it would be the same as before or worse. That I would be used to benefit you and the others, and I didn't want that. So I didn't want to leave Tenko, who protected me for 12 years. However, I was wrong. I was so wrong in that thought. You, Chisaki, are the light that I wished for 3 years ago. As my husband, my alpha, my other half, you took my hand the moment we met and you started walking forward to the light. With the push of 6, I realized what I needed. What I need is you. You gave me your last name and I realized this is my chance to escape the darkness, to run blindly into the light and have you waiting for me with open arms to help guide me through the world and to show me a new meaning of life that isn't in chains of anxiety and bullies. You broke those chains and set me free, and I am so grateful for that. But not just that. For you, I'm grateful that I got to be forced into this marriage with you. Without you I would still be in a ball crying on my brother's bed, afraid to go into the world where so many people were. Like today, you taking me to the aquarium, it was actually my first time seeing it all in person in so many years. I would only do the online type tours some websites have, or when I was a kid and Tenko and Dabi would take me. They're my brothers and I love them, but they did what they thought would be better for me but not what is best for me. You are my alpha, you are the one who could have changed everything if you were allowed to see me or talk to me. The stars are our path to follow, to create a new life for me with you by my side. For me to be your omega, and follow you through whatever path you take me, even if I'm scared I have you as my alpha to guide me. Just being with you today gave me a change of everything. A change of direction that I want to take. I want to take that step forward, holding your hand as you walk with me. No matter if it's a day or 25 years, I will still hold your hand and be your omega. I haven't cried in years, but the words he said to me, tears were flowing down my cheeks. The bond one accidentally made has become the best accident of my life. I'm pretty sure the alpha in me was crying just as much as I was. Those appealing green eyes turned and looked at me. He gasped and sat up. Are you okay? Why are you crying? He asked, wiping the tears away but wouldn't stop. I grabbed his arms and pulled him into me, hugging him tightly as I cried into his shoulder. He held me as he ran his fingers through my hair just like I do to him. Kai, I know we have a bond already, but I don't want to rush into things. I want to go slow before I mark you and you mark me. I want to get to know you better and fall in love with you at my own pace. Not because we're married, but because I truly want to learn who you are without an alpha helping you. He said, and I nodded. Of course, Izuku, I respect you and your wishes, and as much as I love being here with you right now, We should probably get back to the base before they send a search party for us. I said with a sad tone because I really didn't want to leave. I looked at him and seen him frown. I guess, I don't want them calling my dad thinking we're missing either. I had a lot of fun with you today, hopefully we can do this again soon. He said, giving me a bright smile. I had to turn away, so bright. I mumbled. He tilted his head and almost killed me with his adorableness. I kissed his forehead softly and his mouth opened and closed like he was going to say something. I seen him look down slightly and caught the hint. I leaned forward and kissed him softly, feeling him kiss back as soon as my lips touched his. It felt like it lasted for a lifetime, but really it was just a few seconds. I pulled away and looked at him. As his eyes fluttered open, a huge smile appeared on his face. I got up, taking his hand, and we walked quickly back to the car. As I drove, we asked each other questions, getting to know more about each other. We walked into the base hand in hand as we both had smiles on our face. We were so caught in a conversation we didn't even notice a few people standing by the doors. We were happy. He was laughing and smiling and even joking, but we spent the rest of the night asking and answering questions, learned a lot about each other, and I couldn't have it any other way. As we stayed up all night, he was sitting in my lap as I held him, his back against my chest, as we thought of random questions all night. I don't know who fell asleep first, but I'm pretty sure we both fell asleep at the same time after the sun came up. RDPOV. What the two didn't know was the others were planning on different ways to help Izuku, although most of their plans involved Kai. The boss told them all not to inform Hisashi about any of this yet. He wanted to see how the training would go first before they involved the boy's family. After Hari, Rappa, Hojo and Ricky seen the way they came back, they told the boss and the others, and they were all wearing smirks. Hari was so proud of both of them. They all agreed that Kai was the key to everything, but they don't know what happened between the two. Hari did point out that it looked like Kai was crying before, and that surprised everyone, and if anyone knew him better it was Hari. They all wondered what happened but knew it was none of their business. Nemoto told them the training should be pushed for the day after tomorrow since they had a feeling the two would stay up all night talking. The boss was happy to agree with it. If this meant to help Izuku overcome everything, he would be happy. The boss didn't want to comment on how Hisashi raised his children, but from what he knows, he thinks Hisashi and the others kept Izuku on a tight leash and play a part in why his anxieties and others are so bad. He doesn't think they did it on purpose. He thinks they did it for what they think is better for Izuku and not what really is. Boss wanted Kai to visit Izuku and see what would happen, but Hisashi shot that ship down quickly. After 3 years, Hisashi finally agreed, but the boss was surprised when it was to an arranged marriage and not a meeting. Izuku would be so much better, but that would have meant a 13-year-old boy and a 17-year-old man would be together, and that didn't settle well with either of them. However, a 16-year-old, almost 17, and a 21-year-old wouldn't be as bad, and it was legal for them to be together anyways. Izuku would turn 17 in the next month anyhow. They continued talking, but Hari was off in his own little world thinking. "Hari, are you okay?" Boss asked, and everyone looked at him. He shook his head. "I'm starting to wonder what made Izuku feel the way he did. I know he talked to Six, but something had to happen before then. Along with why the hell would all for one wait 3 years for Izuku to finally be with Kai if he knew about the bond? I'm not questioning his parenting or anything, but something doesn't add up. If Kai had made an alpha bond to him, all for one should know about it because of what the doctor said. Unless he wasn't ready to give up his little boy yet. Izuku has Tamura and Dabi, but I don't know anymore. Izuku had been with us for 2 days and he has changed, his anxiety and everything had dropped, and I know it wasn't all because of Kai. Sure, he still gets anxious and everything, but he's been comfortable with us. Maybe I'm just overthinking everything," Hari said, and everyone listened. "Actually, I agree with you and I think I know why." Ricky started and everyone raised an eyebrow looking at him. "What do you mean?" Hojo asked. "We give him freedom, he isn't confined to one place, this place is huge and he is free to do whatever. He also knows about what we did for him at his middle school and that we still looked out for him and protected him. Along with Kai is his alpha. When I complimented him, it almost looked like it was his first time being complimented. Dabi was the only one who looked like he was happy for Izuku, like he knew this was going to be a good change for him. The others thought about it and nodded. Tamura didn't want to let go of his little brother, which is understandable, but maybe we could ask Izuku about it instead of coming up with different ideas that could probably be wrong. Hojo said, and the others nodded. They all went back to their rooms waiting the next morning. Izuku POV. I woke up feeling Kai's arms around me. I'm happy for yesterday. We got to know a lot about each other and I started feeling happy again. I nuzzled my head into his chest. Good morning, appealing, he said, and I blushed deeply. Morning, I squeaked out, earning a chuckle from Kai. He kissed the top of my head and I smiled. You know, I'm proud of you, Izuku. You have come so far just in the last couple days. I'm really glad I got to be with you and not anyone else. Before I met you I didn't want a relationship or anyone in all honesty, but when I met you I wanted you. I wanted to protect you, to love you, to hold you, and just be with you. I know I'm a few years older than you, but Izuku, you mean everything to me. Over 3 years all I wanted was you and I wasn't allowed to. All I could do was think about you and hear how you were through Boss, and it hurt, but now I get to have you with me every day. Kai said, and I just looked at him in awe as he said everything. Our eyes met and I leaned forward, kissing him softly. He returned it and I slowly pulled away. I think I'm falling for you, I admitted, and his eyes widened for a second before they went back to normal and a smile appeared. God, how I love that. Did I just say love? Whatever, I love seeing his smile. It's rare to see it around others, but it's the most perfect smile I have ever seen. I smiled back and nuzzled into him. What time is it? I asked, and I felt Kai move back a little. Holy, it's 3 in the afternoon, he said, and I jumped up but stopped. I'm guessing training is cancelled today. I mumbled, probably. Just means more cuddles for me, he said, wrapping his arms around me, pulling me back down. I giggled and snuggled against him. I really do like it here already. I'll admit I was horrified having to leave my family and come somewhere completely new with new people and get married to someone I didn't even know, but I'm glad I did. Yeah, I miss Tenko and Dabi and the others, but I'm happy here. You guys don't judge me when I get excited to work on new things. Not that they did, they just make comments about it and it would kind of upset me, but you didn't argue with me when I started doing your paperwork and making plans. You all listened to me and even agreed to help me move forward, and I'm so grateful for all of you, even you. You didn't judge me when I let my walls come down, and I hope you don't mind me how I really am. I feel like I always have to put up a mask to people and that I annoy Tenko and Dabi for how clingy I am, but here, it's different. It's like a part of me is telling me that you will never abandon me and when you leave you will come back. But the other half is still sad for leaving my family. Tenko hasn't even texted me or called me, and that upset me a lot. He said he wouldn't abandon me, and I feel like he is starting to. Dabi has texted me though. I've been honest with him, but I haven't told him about yesterday. And I don't know if I want to yet. I want to start this and see how I do and show them how far I've come. I feel like they won't react how I want them to. Like they want me to stay in the shell and never grow and be free. That they want me to stay with them, but Dabi is different. He is so happy that I'm here, and not in a bad way either. He's happy I'm getting closer to you, and the others, he said he's proud of me for it. Just hurts. Tenko and Dad haven't tried to contact me. I sent Tenko a couple messages, but he never replied. I ranted and he listened. I'm listening, love, but what is it? He asked. I didn't know how to say this as I could feel the tears form. Do they not want me anymore? Did they marry me off to you so they don't have to deal with me? I asked, keeping my head down. Kai's hold got tighter as he yelled me closer to him. I don't know how to answer that, love, but I will tell you this. If they did have us get married to push you away, then I'm thankful for it. I understand it hurts you, but I get to be with you and guide you through a new life and watch you grow into the amazing and perfect person you are. Scars and all, you are the most appealing person I have ever seen. I'm sure they want you. You are his son and Tamura's brother. Dabi could be playing the messenger between them also, but what I can tell you is we will all love and support you. Hell, I honestly think if you wanted to go be a hero, we would all support you. He started and I nodded. Izuku, listen to me when I say this. You are the most appealing, amazing, selfless, kind-hearted, and outgoing person I have ever met. You're intelligent, quick thinking, quick planning, and I could go on and on for hours on how amazing you really are, and no matter what, Izuku, we are all thankful. I am thankful that you are here with us. Boss just adores the hell out of you, and you'd have to be blind to not see it. So, if they really did do the things you just asked me, it's okay to cry, It's okay to be upset, but at the end of the day you have me and SHT ton of people who are waiting for you to turn around and run to us with open arms for us to comfort and love you. He said, and I cried. I keep crying so much and I'm surprised I still have tears, but I couldn't help but cry. Our moment got ruined by our stomachs growling, making us laugh a little. How about we go get you some food? Want one of my hoodies? He asked, and I perked up quickly. He chuckled as he kissed my cheek and went to grab me a hoodie and himself one. I raised an eyebrow and he shrugged. Hoodies and sweatpants. Not really my style, but I think I'll pull it off, he said, and I nodded, putting the hoodie on. He grabbed his clothes and went into the bathroom. I went to the closet and grabbed my sweatpants out, changing into them. He walked out in gray joggers and a black hoodie, and I couldn't stop the blush that went across my face. Holy hell, how can you be so hot in anything you wear? I mumbled out loud. He smirked at me. Well, glad to know you think I'm hot. Maybe I'll have to get used to wearing stuff like this more often, he said, making me almost go up in flustered flames. He put in a mask and walked to the door. Carry me? I asked shyly. He turned around and seemed surprised, but it lasted for a second. Of course, come here, baby, he said. This time I actually went up in flames, but quickly put them out. He laughed and I made my way to him. Jumping on him, I wrapped my arms and legs around him and kissed his cheek. I'm ready. I giggled out. He put his hands on my thighs to hold me better as we walked out of his room. As we neared the kitchen, we heard people talking. Hari is in there, I said, and he nodded. Can't miss his loud butt, he mumbled, making me chuckle. He's not that bad, I said, and he just looked at me with a really face. I shrugged and put my head back into his neck. We walked in and the talking stopped. Since when do you dress like that? Hari asked. I had to hold back the laugh. Izuku wanted to wear sweatpants and hoodies, so I joined him. Kai said casually, I think I'm in love with Izuku now, Mimic said, and I busted out laughing. I stopped and looked at everyone. How is his laugh even adorable? Hari said with puppy dog eyes. Because I'm adorable, I said with a bright smile. So bright. A few people yelled. I giggled as Kai put me down. Well, you're in a happy mood, huh? Hari asked, and I nodded. Well, we love a happy Izuku. Well, we love you no matter what mood you're in, Hari said, ruffling my hair, making me giggle. I started making Kai and I food, and I really wanted katsudon, so that's what I made. I could feel the starring and intense drooling from the others beyond me, so I made some for everyone. Once I was finished, I made Kai's first and gave it to him, then everyone else's, finally making mine and sitting next to Kai, who hasn't touched his. I tilted my head and gave a confused look. I was waiting for you before I started eating, he said, and I was surprised but thanked him anyways. Everyone thanked me for the food and I smiled at them, saying it wasn't a problem. We started eating, and oh, was I happier than I already was. I didn't know I was wiggling in my seat until Kai put a hand on my thigh. If you keep moving so much, you're gonna either fall out the chair or choke on your food, he told me, and I pouted, but it's my favorite food and I haven't had it in so long, I told him, and everyone looked at me smiling. Wiggle after you finish your food, Izu, Ricky said. I sighed and nodded as I continued to eat. After I finished, I went back to wiggling, making everyone chuckle. After everyone was done, I washed and dried all the dishes, and Kai helped me put them away since I wasn't sure where everything went completely. Once we finished, I hugged him. What's wrong? He asked, and I shook my head. Nothing. Kind of. Can I not hug you? I asked as I started pulling away. He quickly pulled me back into him. Oh no, you can. I was just asking. You seemed upset while doing dishes. I shrugged. I'll be okay. Wanna go watch a movie, or do you have something to do? I asked. I don't think I have anything to do, so a movie sounds great. I smiled, and without warning he picked me up and I giggled instead of jumping. I felt proud for that one. I latched onto him and he went back to our room. He let me pick the movie and I happily put on a Disney movie. He raised an eyebrow. Have you ever watched a Disney movie? I asked, and he shrugged. A couple of them when my cousin Ari is over. She's 6 and watches them all the time. I got excited. I hope I can meet her one day. I cheered. He wrapped his arms around me, pulling me into him. Of course you will. She comes here often, but most times boss goes to visit her now that I took over, but he's letting me spend time with you for a couple weeks before I fully go back to work, he told me, and I nodded. After watching the movie, Kai fell asleep, making me chuckle. A knock on the door distracted me from looking at Kai. I got up and seen Hari there. Hi Hari, I whispered. He raised an eyebrow. Kai's asleep, he nodded. I just wanted to let you know we're all going on a mission so we won't be here for a few hours. You're more than welcome to go train or whatever you'd like to do, Hari said, and I got a little anxious but he hugged me. Don't worry, we will be back, he said in a calm voice, and I nodded. Thank you, I whispered. Of course, Izu. Now how about you go train, cause you lit up like a Christmas tree when I said that. I giggled but nodded. Alright, thanks Hari, I said. He nodded and walked away. I looked back to Kai and wrote a note saying I was going to train and everyone was on a mission, then slipped out of the room. I got to the gym and found a speaker. I linked my phone to it, playing my playlist. I took my hoodie off so I was just in a t-shirt and sweats. Closing my eyes, I took a deep breath and imagined a small battlefield in front of me. At first I started to get anxious, but listening to the music I started attacking the enemy. I don't know how long I was in here doing the same thing, but when a certain song came on I couldn't help but start singing it. As I heard the piano play, I calmed myself down and started singing. I'm trying to hold my breath, let it stay this way, can't let this moment end. You set off a dream in me. I had a smile on my face as I sang the next part. Getting louder now, can you hear it echoing? Take my hand, will you share this with me? 'Cause darling, without you I decided to use my quirk singing this part. All the shine of 1,000 spotlights, all the stars we steal from the night sky will never be enough, never be enough. Towers of gold are still too little, these hands could hold the world, but it'll never be enough for me, never, 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 never. For me, never enough for me. As I belted out the vocals, I kept my eyes close, using my quirk as I sang, unaware of how powerful my quirk got while singing. All the shine of 1,000 spotlights, all the stars we steal from the night sky will never be enough, never be enough. Towers of gold are still too little, these hands could hold the world, but it'll never be enough for me, never, 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 never. For me, never enough, never, never, never enough, never. Never, never enough for me. I kept singing and dancing to the music as I used my quirk, sending flames everywhere at a fast pace until I finished. I didn't know I had tears down my face. I opened my eyes and seen my flames all over, but not spreading. They were staying where they were, almost like a candle. It was appealing. The flames were different colors, some red, some blue, some white, and a couple were almost golden. I smirked, not knowing there was a group of people behind me. The next song came on and I knew I was going to have fun with this song. I snapped my fingers, watching the flames sway to the beat. As I started singing, insane, inside the danger gets me high, can't help myself, got secrets I can't tell. I love the smell of gasoline. I light the match to taste the heat. As the chorus came, I lit my hands on fire, letting my flames go at fast speeds, flicking my hands, having them move and swarm into a fire tornado, which surprised me, but I loved it. I've always liked to play with fire. I've always liked to play with fire. I closed my eyes and imagined different things and formed my fire into a castle. I ride the edge, my speed goes in the red, hot BLD. These veins, my pleasure is their pain. I love to watch the castles burn, these golden ashes turn to dirt. As I sang the last two lines, I set the castle on fire in almost an explosion, turning it dust as the fire settled on ground as ashes. As the chorus came again, I focused on my body, tempered and raised it, watching my flames turn to different colors. I've always liked to play with fire. I've always liked to play with fire. Oh, watching as the flames get higher. Oh, I've always liked to play with them. This part is my favorite part of the whole song. I smirked and I let my villain out a little as I imagined different shadow-like people in my flames, then different animals that formed in my shadows as they were all running around. Rite of passage, classic havoc match in the gas tank. Ooh, that's Ratchet, unstoppable, legendary animals. Digital justice, now you're gonna know us. Hail to the king and queen of the ruckus. Yacht money wired, no denying. As I sang, hail to the king and queen of the ruckus, I made the shadows and animals bow in front of me before throwing my hand up, and all the flames roared to life as the chorus came on. I've always liked to play with fire. 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 I've always liked to play with my flames kept roaring across the place, forming into appealing colors as my hands were controlling them. As the song ended, I let my flames disappear. I was proud of myself. I never knew I could do that. I stood there for a second, watch as the flames fade away and smoke formed around but soon disappear. Then I wondered something, still not noticing the large group behind me. I lit my hand on fire and imagined it as butterflies. The flames turned into appealing blue butterflies, then flew away, and I had stars in my eyes. Holy! I heard. I jumped and squeaked as I turned around to see a ton of people. I chuckled nervously, rubbing the back of my neck. That was amazing. Some people started yelling. Most people just looked shocked. You can sing. Hari yelled out. I shyly nodded. I didn't know I could do all that though. I've never sang and used my quirk like I just did, but holy F, did that feel amazing. I knew I could control fire, but I didn't know I could make things out of it either. Did you guys see what I did? It was so cool. I started yelling excitedly. A few people chuckled and everyone agreed. We got here during the first song. We were gonna say something, but you started with the second song and we wanted to see what you were gonna do. Hojo said, and I nodded. That was amazing. Who knew you could sing and make your quirk even more powerful than it already is, babe? Kai said, and everyone whipped their heads over to him as I blushed. Thank you, Kai. I said shyly. Well, I think that's enough training for today. Who's hungry? I said, and everyone cheered. We made our way to the kitchen and thought about what I wanted. Hey Kai, can I go to the store? I asked, and they looked at me. Sure, but I'm going with you, I nodded. Let's go, I said with a smile. I gotta grab my wallet, then nope, I'm paying, I was saying before Kai interrupted me. I opened my mouth and he covered it with his hand. I take care of things like that. It comes out of the business basically, since everyone is employees. He said, and I just nodded. He removed his hand. Now let's go, love. I nodded and we walked to the car. I was surprised he didn't change and stayed wearing the sweatpants and hoodie. I guess he won't bring too much attention to us then. Once we got to the store, he put a mask on me. I didn't question it and just smiled and thanked him. I started shopping, getting everything we need for dinner and more since they were running low on a lot of things. Kai stayed close to me and I was thankful for that. No one really looked at us or paid attention. It was like we were normal people shopping. After getting everything, Kai paid and we headed back to base. I texted Hari and asked if him and a couple others could help us carry them in and help put them away since I'm still learning everything. Once we arrived, there was Hari, Ricky, and Rappa waiting for us. Kai questioned it and I told him I asked Hari to help us carry them in. He was surprised that they actually listened, which made me giggle. We got out and opened the trunk and they just kind of started at it then to me. I am so happy we're keeping you, they said in unison. I tilted my head confused. Oh, okay. I tried to get a variety of stuff and Kai just let me do my thing, and there's ice cream. You only get it after dinner though. I find you eating any desserts before dinner and I won't hesitate to put you on the ceiling surrounded by flames, I said with an innocent smile after I took my mask off. They shivered and all quickly agreed and said they would tell the others. I nodded and went to grab something. Nope, we got it. You take your pretty little self to our room to change and shower to get those germs off of you. Kai said, and I just stood there, my mouth opened and closed a couple times, but I couldn't say anything. I just nodded and turned to walk away, hearing the other laugh at what just happened. I made it back to our room and grabbed one of his t-shirts and a pair of my shorts and boxers and took a shower, dried off, got redressed, put my shoes back on and went to walk out the door, but I realized something. I didn't have anxiety attack or get anxious at all while at the store. Holy! I yelled out excitedly. I opened the door and skipped down the hall with a smile on my face until the boss office door opened and I almost ran right into him. Hello, boss. How are you? I greeted. He looked a little stunned but nodded. I'm good. How are you, Izuku? He asked. I'm great. Kai and I went to the store and I didn't get anxious or have an anxiety attack like I always do. He put a mask on me and I felt better since no one could see me and no one even paid attention to us because we looked like normal teenagers. Or adults, whichever. Normally people always stare at me, Dabi and Tenko when we go shopping. Kai wore sweatpants and a hoodie like I did and we blended in. And I'm rambling. I cut myself short and blushed out of embarrassment. The boss just looked at me for a moment before a smile came on his face. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Izuku. That's a great start already. I don't want you going outside alone though, alright? Always have someone with you. And wait, did you say Kai wore sweatpants and a hoodie out in public and still is? He was saying before he realized that. I nodded, yes. He looked at me like I just did the unthinkable. How in the hell did you get him to do that? It took me a week to get him to go outside and buy hoodies for you, I giggled. It was his idea actually, and I wasn't going to disagree, I answered honestly. Well, I don't know what you're doing but I'm loving it. Where are you headed now? I smiled. I'm going to make dinner, which I should be getting to the kitchen before I have to threaten them again and make sure they don't ruin anything, I said thinking out loud. He laughed. Well, I was heading there also, so let's go together, he said, and I nodded. We walked to the kitchen and I seen Toya and Tabe swinging on the chandelier screaming, I'm gonna swing. You're gonna swing your butt to hell if you don't get the F down, I yelled, cutting them off. Everyone froze and turned towards me. The two quickly jumped off, bowing in front of me, apologizing. Yeah, it's okay, now get out of my kitchen. I'm claiming it since Mamajiri claimed the old one. It's mine. Now shoo, I said, waving my hands to get them all to leave. Kai went to leave but I grabbed his arm. You stay. You're tall and I'm short, I said, and he chuckled, sitting down next to Boss. I turned on some music not too loud and started dinner. Kai and the Boss stayed silent as I was singing and doing multiple things at once. After I finished everything I put it all out on plates. I made a ton of sushi and chicken teriyaki, rice and grilled vegetables along with a garden salad and soup. Before I yelled that the food was done, the Boss and Kai were looking at me with stars in their eyes. Thank you, I said, and they snapped out of it. For what? Boss asked. For arranging the marriage between Kai and I. Even if you didn't and you brought me here, I'd still be thankful. I'm starting to feel free and not judged or have to worry about saying the wrong thing and get laughed at and judged by everyone. Back home I felt like I couldn't be myself unless I was with Dabi or Tenko. Spinner was pretty cool, but the others I just felt judged and almost scared of them. Compress accidentally put me in a marble and I freaked out about it. I accidentally ran into him and scared him, but I didn't like it. Toga just scares the living hell out of me, and I was always scared to talk or even move the wrong way with her eyes all over me. Twice was okay, but his other part of him was always rude and it hurt me a lot. Dabi didn't really like any of them, so he usually stayed with me and protected me. I've heard them talk about me behind my back a few times and it hurt. They didn't really like me but acted like they did because of my dad and Tenko. All of you guys here are welcoming and don't judge me. You all show you care and respect me, and I like it. I like feeling a part of something that's real and not a part of something just because my dad and brother are the leaders. It means so much to me, and I think that's the reason I'm doing so much better here. I have you, Kai, Hari, and all the others. I've learned so much more about my quirk here, and I love it here. I told Kai earlier that I haven't even heard from anyone but Dabi. Mamajiri calls me and checks in on me, and that's it. I feel like they pushed me on to you guys because they didn't want me anymore, I explained as I tried not to cry. Both of them sat there speechless. Well, my dear little brother, you will always have us. We won't push you on to other people because we all adore you, Hari said, coming into the kitchen. The others followed and agreed. I hugged them all and wiped my tears. Okay, enough sappy. Let's eat, I yelled out, and everyone agreed. Holy 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐻, this all looks amazing. A few yelled and I smiled and thanked them. I made Kai and the Boss plate and served it to them. Boss seemed surprised I did it, but I smiled at him and went to make mine. We all sat down and started talking about different things while laughing and enjoying the food. Until the Boss got a phone call from my father. Izuku POV. After he told me it was my father, I told him he could answer it. He did and placed it on speaker. Hello Hisashi, how are you? Boss answered, I'm doing good. How's my son doing? Dad asked, and Boss looked at me and I shook my head no. He's getting a little better. He seems to have warmed up to Hari a little more and maybe even Kai, Boss said, and I smiled at him. Oh, I haven't talked to him. Does he get service in the base? Dad said, avoiding what Boss just said. Not gonna lie, that kind of hurt. Some places he might not. Have any of you tried contacting him? Boss asked, giving me a worried look. No, we haven't. We don't want to make things worse for him by contacting him. Tenko is having a hard time, but he seems to be doing better. Dabi has been quiet. He keeps saying he wants to see and talk to him, and 𝐒𝐮𝐲 has been different as well. The others seem normal though. Maybe Friday we could come see him. We will bring the whole league since everyone misses him. My eyes widened and I started to shake a little. Boss looked at me as if it was okay, and I just nodded. Well, I'm sure we could do something. He will probably be happy to see you all. He hasn't let go of Tamura's or Dabi's hoodies since he got here, Boss said with a chuckle. Sounds like Izuku, he has a thing for hoodies. I hope I made the right choice of letting him marry your nephew Boss. I'm sure he will warm up to the others within the next few days. If not, just make him and Kai spend as much time together as they can and he will be fine. A tear rolled down my face as I and the others were shocked to hear what he had just said. Very well, I'll give him till Monday, maybe seeing you guys again will cheer him up and make it easier for him. To know that you all didn't abandon him or leave him to us. I think it will be good for him. Boss said, but I could see the anger in his face. We can't be with him forever, he would have had to separate from the boys sooner or later. Tamura has a lot of things ahead of him, so hopefully Izuku won't try to stay attached to him. I just wanted to check in and see how he was doing. I'll see you all on Friday around noon then. Yes. They said their goodbyes and hung up the phone. He got rid of me because his plans for Tenko. I asked with a shaky voice. Kai wrapped his arms around me, but I didn't move. I felt numb. But why didn't Dabi or Kurojari tell him they have talked to me? I asked to no one in particular. Izuku, are you okay? Boss asked, and I didn't know how to answer. I was. Am I just in the way of everyone? That I'm such a liability they got rid of me? I kept asking, was I just a mistake? I didn't ask to be abandoned by my mother. I didn't ask to be tortured and bullied for years. I didn't ask to have so many problems. I didn't ask to be born either. I said as tears kept running down my face. I pulled Kai's arms off of me and ran. I don't know where I'm going, but I ran until I found an open door. It was mine and Kai's room. I grabbed all the hoodies Tenko gave me and threw them everywhere. I threw all of our pictures against the wall. I kept screaming and throwing things all around the room until I collapsed to my knees, sobbing and screaming. My phone started ringing and I seen it was Dabi. I hesitated but answered, hello. Hey Izu. Are you okay? What's wrong? He asked with worry in his voice. Do you not love me like you claim you do? Am I nothing to you but something to respect because of my father and brother? I asked as tears poured down my face. Izuku, what are you talking about? Of course I love you, you're my little brother BLD or not. I have cared for you and did everything for you. Protected you from the other league members because they hate you and I don't know why. You're the most sweetest, funniest, outgoing and caring person I have ever met. Even if I didn't know who your dad and brother are, I would still adore you, Izu. I would still treat you the same way I do now. It hurts so much not having you here with me. I didn't want to leave you, but Izuku. Please believe me when I say this. Letting you stay with Overhaul and the others, I think it will be good for you. You can be free and be happy there. I knew from the moment I saw all of them and met them that they will protect you and care for you. Help you get through the bad times. This is your chance to be you, and show them who you really are, Izu. Even if I didn't want to let you go because, oddly enough, you were almost like my child. Adabi too. Zero, and it hurt me more than I think it hurt anyone leaving you like that. I love you, Izuku, and you're the best brother child I could ever ask for. I didn't know what to say, but I did giggle at the last part. Izuku, what made you ask me that though? He asked, and I sniffed, wiping the tears rolling down my face. Dad called Boss and he put it on speakerphone. Dad basically married me off to Kai so him and Tenko can do their plans without me interfering. The whole phone call was almost as if he was disappointed that I'm not doing better. But Dabi, where are you? I asked. He was silent for a moment. I'm in an alleyway a few blocks away. I needed more cigarettes. Why, what's up? I took a deep breath. Tuya, I'm so much happier here. I'm allowed to cook and train and be myself here. Kai and I have gotten so much closer and I like him. Even if it's only been a couple days. He took me out on a date to the aquarium and bought me hoodies and a stuffed animal, then took me into a appealing place in the woods and we laid under the stars and I let my walls come down. We talked about the stars and constellations and he listened to me. He didn't judge me like the league does. Hari is amazing and so is everyone else. I got to fight Ricky and I won. I can wear t-shirts and they don't judge me. They compliment me all the time and I even went shirtless in the fight with Ricky. They didn't judge me or call me names like the league does. Kai and I went grocery shopping today and I didn't have one anxiety attack or even anxiety at all while we were out. No one was watching us or looking at us, we were like normal people. I even analyzed all their quirks and they were surprised and kept complimenting my work on how great it is. I helped them with a couple missions already and made new plans for them. They didn't argue with me like Dad and Tenko, they listened and accepted them. I have let my walls come down with them and they show me every day how much they care about me. It's like everything melted away and I'm free. I'm happy 𝐻𝐼𝐻. I learn new things with my quirks. I had a breakdown and they all agreed to help me. They're going to train with me so I'm not scared of loud things anymore or break down so easily. They're helping me with my self-esteem and confidence and I'm changing 𝐻𝐼𝐻. I'm a better person here. They all love and care about me and Kai. Oh my god, 𝐻𝐼𝐻, is he the most amazing person I have ever met. His smell calms me down and makes me happy and my 𝐒𝐻𝐵𝐻 goes crazy, but he's so kind and gentle with everything. He gives me cuddles and head pats and even pets my hair how I like. I even purred. If purred 𝐻𝐼𝐻, I was so happy with how gentle he was. It was like how you always calm me down but he's not as warm as you. They all love my cooking and I've had to yell at a couple of them but they don't get mad at me and want to kill me like the league does 𝐻𝐼𝐻. I'm like Dobby, I'm a free elf. I ranted and I heard Dobby chuckle. Good Izu, I'm glad to hear all that. I'm so happy and proud of you. Hopefully I can see you soon and you can show me these new moves you have worked on. I'd love to see them but I have to go. Your pain in the butt brother is calling a meeting. Yeah, I know. You guys are coming here Friday, but 𝐻𝐼𝐻, please don't let them hurt me. I know Kai won't, but I wanted to surprise you all on how much better I've been. So boss hasn't told Dad yet? I mean he has, but not the whole truth. I'll talk to you soon. I love you. I said, good. I love you too, bro. See you Friday. We said our goodbyes and I hung up. I was happy Dobby wasn't faking it. I opened the door to see everyone there. My eyes widened. Hello. I greeted. Next thing I knew I was on the floor in a dog pile. Everyone was hugging me and telling me how much they love me. I tried to hug them all but I'm so tiny, only person I can relate to is Tabe. Okay, I love you all too, now please get off me, you're all heavy. I shouted even though I could hardly breathe. They quickly got off of me but Hari stayed on me. Harry, I get up, I whined. No, you said you love us and I'm enjoying your warmth. I chuckled and patted his head. Fair enough. I giggled out. Hari finally got up and helped me up. So you like Kai, huh? Toya teased and I went up in flustered flames. ODMN. Rappa, Hojo and Ricky yelled out. Kai was a blushing mess. I put the flames out and patted my head so my hair wasn't on fire. Dessert? I asked and everyone looked at me. How much of that phone call did you hear? I asked and they all looked away. We heard almost all of it. We were about to come in when we heard all the screaming and glass breaking, but we heard the phone call. Kai answered and I looked around and my eyes widened at the mess. I'm sorry, I'll clean it up, I said, but Hari put his arm around me, stopping me. Don't worry Izu, we have someone who will clean it up. How about we all go back to the kitchen for that dessert? And who the hell is 𝐻𝐼𝐻? Hari asked and my eyes widened. None of you can say anything if I tell you, I said in a deadly yet serious tone. I seen some shiver but they all agreed. It's Dobby. Dobby is 𝐻𝐼𝐻 Todoroki. The missing son of Endeavor. Him that when I'm being serious or really excited. But he answered my questions and I'm happy with the results. I'll explain more but I want ice cream after that breakdown, I said and they all nodded. We started walking but Ricky picked me up and carried me, causing me to squeak. What the hell are you doing? Kai asked. You weren't gonna carry him so I did. A princess shouldn't walk after a breakdown. Ricky answered and I blushed. I'm not a princess, I pouted. Nope, you're a queen. Queen of the Shie Hassakai. Queen Izuku Chisaki and we are your royal servants, Tabe said and we all started laughing. We made it to the kitchen and Kai stole me from Ricky, making me giggle. Mine. He said, glaring at everyone. Calm down dude, we all know that. We have to respect our queen though, Toya said with a wink. I sighed in defeat. I'm not getting out of that name, am I? I asked and they all said, nope. Wouldn't that make Kai the king then? I asked and some chuckled. No wonder why he's in, but Hari said with a smirk. I gasped dramatically. That is no way to talk about your king. You cause me pain. I said dramatically, placing my arm on my forehead, leaning back. Everyone exploded into laughter, even Kai and Boss. Chisaki handed me a bowl of ice cream and I thanked him for it and started eating it. I wanted to wiggle, but I was in Kai's lap and I didn't want to get yelled at for it. "I'm surprised you're not wiggling in happiness," 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 said. "Well, I was, but then I realized if I did I'd get yelled at, so I don't choke, and I'm also in Kai's lap," I answered, and some laughed while some had a smirk on their face. I shook my head at them as we all started eating different desserts. Once we were finished, 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐬 collected our bowls and him and Hari did the dishes. "So, you ready to tell us about that phone call?" "You don't have to, but you sounded really excited talking to Dabi," Boss asked, and I nodded. I told him about the phone call with Dad. He wasn't too happy about it, but he told me that he never treated me the way he did because of them. He protected me from the other members. He also told me how badly it hurt him to leave me here, but said he believed everyone here would treat me better than the League. He said this could be my chance to be free and be happy away from them, and that I was like a child to him. A Dabi too. Zero, which made me laugh, but I mean he is right on that. Dabi played a bigger role than Tenko and Dad did when he came around. He's older than Tenko by a couple years. Basically, he told me he's proud of me and happy for me. I know he won't tell the others what I told him, and that's what I like about Dabi. He's tried taking me out when he goes to the stores and everything, but I was never allowed to go with him. Tenko and him would get into arguments over me, and Dabi would be right in them. I didn't need to stay in that base 24/7, so he would wait until later at night, and Kurogyari would portal us to here we need to go. We would leave and come back into Dabi's room, and no one would know we left. Dabi also knew I snuck out at night. Sometimes he would even help me leave. Tenko is childish, but he cared a lot about me. However, Dabi and Mamajiri were the only ones who noticed the way the League treats me. That's why I was so scared there and would still sleep in the same bed as Dabi or Tenko, because I don't trust Toga not to do something, and I don't trust the others except Spinner. I explained and over-explained a little. They all nodded and said they understood. Just be prepared for Toga. She's fin crazy. All she cares about is BLD, stabbing people and more BLD, and being a crazy Fing simp for me, yet hates me at the same time. Compress is 30 years old, stuck in a league of children. That's probably why he doesn't like me, but other than the marble accident he doesn't do anything. Twice has two different personalities. The first one is him and the second one is another. He's a really nice guy, but the other side of him is very rude and hurtful towards me. Spinner is chill ASF, like he don't give a DMN about nothing, but at the same time he does. You all know Mamajiri, Tenko, Dabi and Dad, so yeah. I told them and they nodded. They weren't too happy about Toga, but honestly, neither am I. She horrifies me. There is one more thing that they don't know. I said, just like Dabi, you can't tell anyone this. I'm not sure if Dad knows, but the doctor and I have a secret. Dad's bodyguard, 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐸, or Maki for short, is huge. However, he only serves for Dad. The doctor wanted me to meet him, and because I smell like Dad, it was easy for me to gain his trust. He's adorable. I would visit him sometimes also. The doctor would say he wants to run some test on me, but really I'm in the mountains with Maki. He cares for me and he even helped me with my fire. Didn't really do much, but he would let me fight against him. He calls me young as Tenko is supposed to go against him and make him serve under him, but I don't think it will be easy. I'm sure he's going to have the League help, and if he does I'll tell Maki to not hurt Dabi, but I think he knows that already. I haven't seen him in so long, I miss my Maki. I pouted and everyone seemed surprised at what they heard. Are you able to go there since your dad won't know? Hari asked and I shrugged. I'd have to call the doctor, but it's hard when I don't know if Dad is with him or not. I could text him, but who knows if he'd be able to see it, I said with a shrug. We talked a little longer until everyone decided to go to bed. I couldn't sleep, so after Kai surprisingly fell asleep I went over to the desk and decided to hack into UA. Once I did, I said F it and started analyzing all their quirks. I did all the first years within an hour and said fuck it again and did all the other students and teachers until I went back to the first years, looking through cameras of their exam, and of course Bakugo made first. I looked at the time and seen it was 3 in the morning. Aizawa is on patrol. I got out of UA's system and dressed in all black. I wrote Kai a note saying I went out and I'll be back. I crawled out the window and left the base a back way, so there was no way I'd get followed or watched. I finally made it to my building and went up to the roof sitting with my legs over the ledge.